I've-
I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a regular business meeting of the Redmond City Council held on Tuesday, April 16th, 2024, commencing at 7:00 p.m. I will call roll, starting with Council President Kritzer.
Here.
Council Vice President Forsyth.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson. Here. Councilmember Fields.
Here.
Councilmember Nueva Camina.
Here.
Councilmember Slahuddin.
Here.
And Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Council President.
I move to reorder the agenda to move the Sound Transit 2-line update into special orders of the day and to move the consent agenda to after special orders of the day.
Is there a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Council President?
We have a speaker here who has a time-bound need, so from Sound Transit, and I think it'd be great for our community here to be able to hear this update since we have some exciting updates about the 2-line opening. So I was hoping we could put that at the top of the agenda, given the wonderful number of people that we have here to speak. And also we have a commissioner that hopefully, if we vote for it, will get appointed and wanted to be able to swear them in early in this item and then be able to listen to our public. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes 7-0. Thank you very much. So in moving, we'll have a Sound Transit update for special orders of the day. I am going to introduce Ariel Taylor from Sound Transit to kick us off. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the Redmond City Council. Can you hear me? Can we do a sound check real quick?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much for having me here tonight and for letting me go at the beginning of your meeting today. I do also want to say hello to everybody in the public who has attended this meeting today in person or virtually. I'm here to provide you with an update on the 2-line opening in just 11 short days. So April 27th is fast approaching. And I do have a couple slides that I'll share here very quickly, so bear with me. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Excellent. So my name is Ariel Taylor. I do government and community relations for Sound Transit, specifically here on the East Side. And we have been working very hard to be able to bring the Redmond and the Bellevue community light rail service beginning on April 27th. So this is your update to hear more about that service, more about what we have planned. Then I'll save a little bit of time at the end of this meeting for some City of Redmond updates specifically on the 2-line activities. But just to dive in, what I'll cover today is a tiny little short history of the Eastlink project. Many of you have seen this in construction over many years, have been involved in the process, and we're really excited to open up the Eastlink project, or what we will call the 2-line, in just 11 short days. So we'll go a little bit over the history, really dive into more about project sequencing, when you will see projects open over the next several years, and then, of course, how we plan to celebrate this opening. Right, so what's coming? You may have heard something called Eastlink in the past. Eastlink, Eastlink, Eastlink is coming, Eastlink. We are now actually transitioning our vocabulary to the 2-line. This is a little bit more friendly when you're trying to wayfind across the transit system, and I'll get into more of that here in a second. But what I will show, excuse me, is our voter approved system. So what you see here on the map, it kind of looks like very colorful spaghetti, but this is actually the voter approved transit system that Sound Transit is trying to deliver. So later this month, what you will see is the first segment of this number 2 blue 2-line that will open up to the public. But when we are fully built out, when all of our projects are done, we will have this entire new light rail commuter service and bus rapid transit service available to the public. So lots of investment coming over the next several decades when it comes to public transit. All right, so you heard me mention Eastlink. We have been planning for Eastlink extension since the voters approved it in 2008. So this has been a long time coming. The Eastlink project extends over I-90 and all the way out to Redmond. But while we are waiting for the construction to finish on the I-90 bridge, our Sound Transit Board of Directors was like, you know what? We have 8 stations on the east side that are ready to go. Let's go ahead and deploy that and make sure that the people of the east side can move around amongst each other while we wait for that bridge to be finished in 2025. So as you can see here, the top image is the full Eastlink project, that the I-90 segment, very much still under construction. It is coming. But what we are talking about today is really that bottom image for the Eastlink starter line. These are 8 stations stretching from South Bellevue, the South Bellevue Park and Ride, up to the Redmond Technology Station or the Microsoft campus, with 8 stations servicing all of the neighborhoods you see on this map. All right, so a little bit about the starter line or the 2 line or Eastlink. These are all interchangeable names, but the 2 line will be operating about every 10 minutes, and they will operate 7 days a week from 5:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. I have actually been on the train myself. I did a little sneak preview, and it does take about 17 minutes to get from South Bellevue to the Redmond Technology Station. I will say that is a lot faster than you can do at rush hour on 405 and 520. Let me tell you, I've done it multiple times. So we're very excited to have this service open and for people to be able to use it. We will be running 2 car trains, so those are 2 train cars attached to each other on this initial segment of the 2 line. And of course, all of our stations are ADA accessible. A little bit about what you might see happen at the end of this year. So we are not only opening up the 2 line, that's that blue line that you see on the map here, but later this summer, we are actually opening up another extension of our 1 line service, and that will be up to Linwood. So we will open 4 additional stations up towards Linwood. Labor Day weekend is what we are targeting for that. And of course, I can't say it enough, please join us on April 27th for the 2 line opening on the east side. I want to talk a little bit about the changes you're going to see in transportation for Sound Transit over the next couple of years. So these are what we call, or what we internally call, our project sequencing. That doesn't mean a lot to the general public, but this is our plans to open up 4 extensions over the next several years, starting with what we refer to as the Eastlink starter line, ELSL, on this image. That is the 2 line that I'm referring to, opening April 27th. That will be followed by the Linwood Link extension, or the extension of the 1 line, in the fall of this year, Labor Day weekend, like I said. Next year, 2025, we plan to open 2 additional segments of the 2 line, not only that I-90 segment that I referred to earlier in the presentation, but we will also be opening up 2 additional stations into downtown Redmond. And I know that that's very exciting, especially for this city council and for this public. So we're very excited to do that. And of course, in 2026, we will also be extending our service down to Federal Way. So lots of light rail extensions coming online in the next few years. All right, this is where I go from Eastlink to the 2 line. This is really for operational wayfinding. If you are a person coming from out of town, getting off at SeaTac Airport, trying to use our system, we want this to be as friendly as possible when you are interacting with our service. So we will be referring to our light rail lines as numbers. So currently the 1 line is servicing Seattle and down towards SeaTac Airport. The 2 line will be on the east side. So what are we doing to celebrate the opening of the 2 line? This is where things get very exciting. We at Sound Transit want to make sure that we are opening this service in conjunction with the community. After all, this is your line, and we are hoping that people will use it and be excited about it. So what we are doing is having an interactive public experience at all 8 of our light rail stations across the east side. We will also plan to have a ribbon cutting event at the Bellevue downtown station. I will get into more of that on a slide to come. But we are expecting lots of people to be out and in attendance for the 2-line opening. Each station will have sort of a community feel to it. So while we are celebrating the opening of the 2-line, each station will have its sort of own unique constituency and its own unique community vibe. All stations will be family friendly. In fact, one of these stations has a light rail shaped bouncy house, which is courtesy of Move Redmond, who are partnering with us to deliver a very fun celebration on April 27th. So just a little plug for the bouncy house, which I know many of the kids will be very excited about. All right, so the ribbon cutting ceremony, I mentioned this earlier. This will be at the Bellevue downtown station starting at 10 a.m. This is where we'll have a formal event for speakers to come give some remarks and then officially cut that ribbon. And the first trains will start arriving at stations at approximately 11 a.m. So please come out at any station at 11 a.m. You will be able to board the light rail line. But if you happen to be in downtown Bellevue starting at 10 a.m., you can start celebrating with us with the festivities. The audience for this is the general public, right? This is your line, your community, and so general public is of course invited. We will have elected officials, we'll have our own Sound Transit board members, we'll have community stakeholders, of course the people who helped us deliver the project, like our labor contractors, and of course employees of both Redmond and Sound Transit will be in attendance. The fun things about this ribbon cutting experience is that it's very colorful, it's very family oriented. There will be big events at each station with live music, art, entertainment, face painting. All of those types of amenities will be available at these stations. These are some of the images you might see on some of our station materials. So if you walk up to a station today, you're probably going to see these getting installed for next week's celebrations. But these are some of the community members who have helped us along the way deliver the East Link project, or the 2-line. And so we wanted to make sure that these familiar faces in the community were featured on all of our materials. So you might recognize some of these folks on here, especially that one in the top middle for me. That's Putter Burt, who runs the Kids Quest Children's Museum in Bellevue. So there's a lot of fun, familiar faces on this map. All right, we're also going to have a very fun activity where you will be able to do a passport Discover Stamp Win. So if you visit all 8 stations on opening day, you can enter for a chance to win very fun prizes. I won't spoil what those are, but we have had great donations from our corporate partners on the East Side, including Microsoft, Amazon, and several others that have donated some very cool prizes for the Discover Stamp Win activity. So it encourages you to visit all 8 stations on opening day. These are some of the past openings we've done. These are some images of those past openings. They are very fun. They're very community-based. These are types of things you can expect on opening day. And this is a fun slide. There's a lot of logos on this slide. These are just some of our partners who are helping us deliver a community celebration on opening day. A lot of these partners are actually activating the community event on opening day. I mentioned Move Redmond has a bouncy house at Overlake Village Station, but Microsoft, Central Cultural Mexicano, One Redmond, and the city have all partnered to make sure that the Redmond Technology Station will also have a large celebration. But a lot of these entities listed on this map are participating in some way during opening day. This is also not an exhaustive list. We have about 100 different organizations that are participating on opening day in some capacity. There's definitely not room for 100 logos on this slide. So don't worry, there's a lot more to come. And this is where I will hand it back over to the city of Redmond to provide some updates on their activities for opening day.
Thank you so much, Ariel. And I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Executive Director Lisa Maher. Hang on. Try it now.
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, council and community members. I'm Lisa Maher, Deputy Director for the Executive Department. I'm just going to give you a little bit more detail about the city activities, following up on what Ariel already covered for you. So I'll dive right in. As Ariel mentioned, at the Redmond Technology Station, our partners, One Redmond Experience Redmond, Central Cultural Mexicano, the Indian American Community Services, the KCLS Redmond Library, the Together Center and Microsoft will all be on site welcoming all of the riders in the community there and activating that station. So the talent or the performances will be taiko drummers, mariachi band, lion dancers, K-pop, Indian dancers. So there'll be a lot of different entertainment options during that, I believe, 11 to 4 timeframe. Experience Redmond will be handing out visitor guides and all kinds of Redmond swag to the community. So if you're there, stop by there, as well as Redmond 2050, our comprehensive plan team and our transportation outreach will be there giving out materials to the community for that. There'll be a photo booth and Minecraft will be there, as well as I heard Mario and Luigi from Nintendo will be making an appearance. So I know they're popular. So moving down the track to the Overlake Village Station, the City of Redmond, partners Move Redmond and Transportation Choice Coalition are activating this station with Sound Transit, and we will have our Redmond Fire Department, Redmond Police Department on site with all of their fun things. Hopefully, we'll see Sparky the dog make a appearance that day. And then we'll be joined by HopeLink, Bellwether, the Aloft Hotel across the street. We'll be doing special food and drink specials at happy hour that evening. There'll be a photo booth, the before mentioned bouncy house, different food trucks, and DJ music going on at that station. Our Go Redmond folks will be there with a bike bus rack that will allow people and teach them and practice how to put their bike on, not in the moment, so you won't have to be nervous, but that will be something there for people to try. We're going to be launching our first interactive bike map that will have posters and QR codes that will teach people how to use this new resource. We'll have all the ORCA card information, and we are currently updating our Go Redmond webpage with current information for seniors, students, and other non-standard type fare types. And we'll have posters guiding people to the webpage and staff to answer any ORCA questions as well. Transit Access will be promoting the Move Redmond Transit Access Map and helping people understand how to utilize the light rail to get other places, such as downtown Redmond. And lots of giveaways. We'll have Ped Bike Advisory Committee business cards, our Q Alert business cards for people, and lots of stickers and city swag. Following the event, I just wanted to mention as well that the City of Redmond, Experience Redmond, and One Redmond are participating on an Overlake Passport Challenge, which will run following the opening, so April 29th through June 22nd, encouraging visitors to shop, dine, and visit in the businesses in Overlake, with the culmination of Move Redmond's Open Streets Festival that will be in Overlake on June 22nd. And we are also, to end with, going to be doing an employee transportation coordinator tour of the two line 1 to 2 weeks after it opens, with about 60 attendees from local businesses to give them some information and experience that as well, so they can share that with their employees. And that's all we have for you tonight, and wanted to see if there was any comments or questions for Ariel or I.
Are there any questions tonight from the council? Councilmember Stewart?
I have a couple of questions, Ariel, that I've received from the public. Do folks need to bring their ORCA cards on the first day of service?
That's an excellent question. Yes, please bring your ORCA cards on the first day of service. Hold on, I'm going to take down my screen so people can actually see me. Hello again. Yes, please bring your ORCA cards for first day of service. If you do not have an ORCA card, or if you are a low-income individual, there are programs available, and actually we are partnering with Microsoft and Amazon and some of the other businesses on the east side to make sure that we are getting ORCA cards in the hands of folks who need them. So Microsoft has stepped up to offer day passes for a limited number of ORCA cards. If you stop by the Redmond Technology Station on opening day, you might get your hands on one of those cards. If you happen to be at Bellevue Downtown Station on opening day, there will also be other ORCA cards available to you with a preloaded amount to be able to enjoy the first transit ride. But yes, if you have an ORCA card, please plan to bring it and use it on opening day and beyond.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nueva Camina.
Ariel, thank you for the update. It looks, when we take a look at the map, I've been asked by some of our residents, when they look at the map, it looks as though there may be a connection on the 2 line on the north end. Is that in the works?
Yes, so the 2 line will have 2 additional stations added to it next year, probably about this time next year. We don't have a date set in stone, but you might have seen some of the construction happening in downtown Redmond for the light rail extension. That is called the Downtown Redmond Link Extension. We love our fancy names over here at Sound Transit, but that will actually be the 2 line as well. Those 2 stations, again, opening in 2025.
Thank you. I think that I didn't fully explain it. It looks like where it does not connect, where it would make a complete loop from the downtown Redmond extension up to Bothell.
Oh, no, there is no planned light rail extension for that, but we will be having a Stride bus rapid transit network running along I-405 here in the next few years. Probably about 2028 is what we are currently expecting, but there is no plan at this moment in time to extend the light rail service up to Bothell.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions this evening? Well, thank you so much, Ms. Maher. Thank you so much, Ms. Taylor. Really appreciate the update. Thank you so much, and looking forward to April 27th.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good night.
The next item on the business is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to move the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Are there any items to be pulled? Seeing none, I will read some items into the record. Hang on, it's behaving poorly. Ordinance number 3162, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending the Redmond Municipal Code Title 15, Buildings and Construction, adding new chapter 15.30, Construction and Demolition, Debris Recycling and Reuse, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Consent item 10, ordinance number 3163, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, repealing RMC 344, Advanced Travel Revolving Fund. Ordinance number 3164, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending ordinance numbers 3110, 3129, 3130, and 3135 by making adjustments to the city's 2023-2024 biennial budget in Exhibit 1. And this is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent passes 7-0. And with the passage of the consent agenda, we have appointed a new Library Board of Trustees member. Naveen Yajaman will be sworn in at this time. Come on up to the front.
All right, so I will read the oath to you, and if you agree at the end, you say, "I will" or "I do," and then you'll sign it, and then you can shake their hands. So, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you, Naveen Yajaman, having been duly appointed to the Library Board of Trustees of the City of Redmond, perform the duties of your office as prescribed by law and to the best of your ability, and that you will support and maintain the ordinances of the City of Redmond, the laws and the Constitution of the State of Washington and the United States of America.
I will.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just needed to sign this. Right there. I'll read the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shake their hands.
The next item on the agenda is items from the audience. I have the sign-in sheet for members of the public to speak tonight. When I read your name, you'll come up to the podium and have 3 minutes to address the council. Council members generally will not respond to comments or questions directly at the meeting. Members of the public are welcome to email the council anytime at mayorcouncil@redmond.gov. The views stated by members of the public do not represent the opinion of the City of Redmond. And as a reminder, RCW 4217A555 prohibits any public comment during the council meeting in support or opposition of ballot propositions, measures, or candidates. And also, we do have a public hearing later this evening, and there is one person signed up for the public hearing, and you cannot speak to the public hearing item. If during items from the audience, you have to wait for the public hearing on the annexation. So that individual will have to wait. I also wanted to say just a little bit before we start public comment this evening. I wanted to correct some information about the study session item last week. Council members were discussing ways to make council meetings run more smoothly, and also trying to manage some of the public comment that has been seen around the nation, not just in our area, but nationally, with hate speech and things like that. So there was a long discussion the council members had. No vote was taken, no decisions were made, but there had been some information shared with the public that was incorrect, stating that there had. So currently, if you're speaking for items from the audience, you have 3 minutes to speak, and that's the way it is right now. The other thing I wanted to share, because I see a lot of people out here and on the list who want to talk about housing in Plymouth, I want to make sure that the public knows that there's correct information out there on the Plymouth housing development. You can go to redmond.gov/ph, and you can find information, and we regularly update that website with current information. Council President.
I just wanted to take a moment to emphasize that we all appreciate you being here. It's wonderful to see this room packed with people, and this is democracy in action. And I wanted to emphasize that there is no proposal currently that we're considering to reduce the regular time of public comment from 3 minutes. Hopefully, if you came here concerned about that tonight, we can lay that to rest. We really appreciate hearing from our public, and our discussion last week was the continuation of actually a discussion that has been going on for several years with our council about how to make our meetings more transparent, our meeting spaces more welcoming to a diversity of residents, and to make sure that we do it in a way that respects everyone's First Amendment rights, which we respect deeply. We'll continue to work on ways to communicate even better with you, to make our government more accessible, and to get your input on all the work that we do to serve our residents. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm waiting for I have a little timer up here, and it's warming up. It still says hello. So while it's doing that, I just want to let the community know that we have 70 people signed up for items from the audience. So take that into account when almost everyone uses 3 minutes of time. While I'm waiting for my timer. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Councilmember Anderson?
I'd like to make a motion that we move the public hearing to the beginning, to the agenda now, so that one individual who'd like to speak to the item on the public hearing has a chance to speak.
Can we move it after we already started this item?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a motion to move the public hearing for the annexation to now. Is there a second to that?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passes 7-0. So let us start with our public hearing on annexation. And my timer's still warming up, so this is fine. This public hearing is for ordinance number 3165, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, annexing 13.5 acres in unincorporated King County, generally bounded by the west of the city limits of Kirkland and on the north, east, and south by the city limits of Redmond, and located between 132nd Avenue Northeast and Northeast 97th Street, and requiring the property to be assessed and taxed at the same rate and same basis as other properties within the city, applying zoning, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date. And I see Director Helland is at the podium to give us some more information on this.
Good evening, council members. Staff are now arriving. Council members and mayor, thank you. Today I'm joined by Audra Cardenas and Jeff Churchill. I believe Jeff is online. She may be here. And Audra manages the annexation process for the city, and she'll have a brief introduction to the Rose Hill Northeast 97th Street proposed annexation. And city staff has worked with the proponent for almost a year to bring this annexation to council, and the public hearing is the final step in that annexation process. So with that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Audra for a brief presentation, and then we can get on with the public hearing.
Thank you. Good evening, council members and Mayor Bernie. The Rose Hill Northeast 97th Street potential annexation area is in the Willows Rose Hill neighborhood and contains 13 parcels and 13.5 acres. The proposal was brought to the City of Redmond by the property owners under the direct petition method last year. In September of 2023, City Council accepted the notice of intent to commence annexation proceedings for the area. The proponent gathered the signatures of the owners of more than 60% by assessed value of the proposed annexation, and the petition was certified as sufficient by the King County Assessor's Office on February 13, 2024. City staff prepared and transmitted the notice of intention to annex to the Boundary Review Board for King County on February 21st, 2024, for a 45-day review period that closed on April 8, 2024. There were no changes to the proposed annexation area as a result of this review. The Boundary Review Board for King County fully supports the annexation. Following the Redmond Municipal Code, staff mailed the notice of the public hearing to all owners of real property within the annexation area and within 500 feet of the annexation. The public hearing was also published in the Seattle Times on March 26th, and the proponent posted 3 public notice boards in the territory proposed for annexation. The proponent and city staff have fulfilled all state requirements, and staff recommends that City Council approve the annexation following the public hearing. If the annexation is approved then city staff will proceed to notify all appropriate state agencies and departments. That's it.
With that, we would turn the microphone back over to the mayor in order to open the public hearing and receive testimony.
Great, thank you. I'm now opening the public hearing. I have the sign-in sheet for members of the public to speak tonight. When I call your name, you'll come up to the podium and have 3 minutes to address the council. I actually have 2 people because someone signed up on the wrong form. So I have Eric Robinson, and then it looks like I have Shizuko Milor. Shizuko? Did you want to speak on the annexation? Okay. I will start with Eric Robinson. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, council, and thank you, council member. I'm here on behalf of the proponent of the annexation, Gerald Hirschler. My name is Eric Robinson. I'm an attorney at Stokes Lawrence, and we've been working with him this past year with the city on the process. He owns 8 of the 13 parcels that comprise this area. And for the benefit of the audience, I'll just say that there's 13.5 acres in this bubble right on the border of Kirkland and Redmond. Looking at a map, it's very easy to see it. It belongs as part of Redmond, and right now it's unincorporated King County. Mr. Hirschler is not able to be here tonight, but asked me to come and just express his gratitude to the city's staff for all their effort and time over the past year, particularly Audra and Jeff. he's grateful for it, and my office has been grateful as well for their guidance. They're extremely knowledgeable and responsive, and we really appreciate that. In case anybody's curious why he initiated the annexation process in the first place, besides just looking at a map and how it makes sense, he felt it was inevitable because this area has been targeted as a potential annexation area for quite some time. And even though he doesn't have any current plans for the benefit of all the parcel owners, he felt there would just be better predictability and certainty for any future development or sale plans, just if it was under the purview of the city of Redmond. And that's the extent of my comments, and thank you very much for your time this evening.
And next we have Chizuko Malor.
Yes, I'm living in Widow's Crest, just behind the land you're talking about. And I heard you're gonna make a park there, but I just heard it's gonna be residential. That's why I came here for. I just wonder what's gonna be there, the land.
We only take public comment during this time. We don't respond to questions, but my staff is around that can answer your question when you complete your comments.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And the clerk's office received no request to speak remotely. The public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance for the Rose Hill Northeast 97th Street annexation petition?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, starting with Council President Kritzer.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And that passes 7-0. Thank you very much, and thank you for moving that up. I think the commenters appreciate that as well. So now we will go back to items from the audience. I am not going to read my script one more time. You have 3 minutes to address the council. I usually call out for about 4 names or so you know when you're coming up. Once again, there is now 69 people who are testifying this evening or commenting. So I will start when you come up to the podium. There are lights. It'll give you an indication of when your time will be up. Yellow, you have about a minute. A steady yellow, you have about a minute left, and then red when your time is up. So Hank Myers, Christina Hudson, Megan Altamore, Sue Stewart, and Deb Young.
Good evening. I'm going to address the issue that President Kritzer talked about earlier today, the regulations on speech, which will come before you on the first meeting in May. I value my time on a council here and respect the institution of government in Redmond, and I care very deeply about it and value the many friendships I've made. So I have 3 points to make to you. First of all, the regulation is entirely unnecessary. I served 12 years. I watch the videos. Conduct by the audience has never approached the levels that you need to justify this sort of resolution. Secondly, I have to tell you that being on the council is not all s'mores and lemonade. Yes, people can be loud. Yes, people can be arrogant. Yes, people can be disrespectful. Yes, people can be noisy. Or maybe that's just me. But I wanted to say to you that that's part of being in the public process. If you're afraid of outrage from the audience, don't do outrageous things. The important thing is to get out among your constituents and talk to them.
I would like to remind the audience that we don't allow clapping and cheering or booing or anything like that during that. So you're actually using up Mr. Myers' time.
Hey, 12 years, I never got that. Any rate, I just wanted to say that the important issue here is that you have already limited speech. After COVID, speakers can no longer use the prodigious screen behind you. It's not a technical issue. The mayor simply said, don't let people do it. You have reduced the time for speaking by 25%. And of course, This evening, you have rearranged things so a whole bunch of people who came here on their own time will have to wait an hour to speak. It's one thing to show disdain, but I wanted to tell you also, the third point, never show fear. Any good wildlife manager will tell you that if you face a ferocious beast, for God's sakes, don't show fear. It only incites them, and it will come back and bite you. So finally, I hope next on the 6th, you will vote this down unanimously, and you will go ahead and restore free speech. And finally, I want to thank Kathy Beam for her many years of service to this city. She is delightful, honest, forthright, a pleasure to work with. My favorite memory of her, I was meeting with her on an environmental issue. She, as usual, she was immaculately dressed and groomed, but her fingernails all had different colors on them. So I asked why, and she said, well, last night, my daughter and I had a mani-pedi party, and she chose the colors. And that's how Kathy came to work. This woman has her priorities straight. We will miss her. I'm sorry to lose her, but I know that she's going to be a bright spot wherever she goes.
Okay, next up is Christina Hudson, then Megan Altamore, then Sue Stewart, then Deb Young, then Tasha May.
Oh, good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Christina Hudson, and I am CEO of One Redmond. We are located at 8383 158th Avenue Northeast in Redmond. One Redmond is a public-private partnership organization. We are Redmond's combined Chamber of Commerce, Community Foundation, and Economic Development Enterprise. I am speaking today on behalf of the Chamber side of our organization. One Redmond supports the proposed Plymouth Housing Project as we see it as a benefit to downtown Redmond businesses. Homelessness is not just a Seattle problem, it is an Eastside problem, it is a Redmond problem. We receive frequent reports from our business members of homeless camping and dumpster enclosures behind buildings and low visibility spots. There needs to be a comprehensive solution as police response is simply not enough. We feel that in Plymouth Housing Project will be a good neighbor. It will not be an overnight shelter, but rather it will give or provide permanent housing with supporting services to people living on low incomes. Residents will be screened, and bad actors with various or serious sex and drug crimes will not be allowed. There will be permanent 24/7 staffing to oversee the facility, and residents will have on-site access to nursing, medical care, case management services, and other nonprofits and additional services. Last week, our team with representatives of Plymouth Housing met with over 70 neighboring businesses. A majority were supportive of the project as affordable housing is one of the biggest needs in our community. We expect that community outreach will be extensive on this project, and public safety will be a priority, and resources will be provided to minimize the impact to the neighbors. And just as Redmond demonstrated that it is a caring community by embracing the Together Center as a resource to provide affordable housing and services, we hope that Redmond will demonstrate the same generosity of spirit by welcoming this project. Thank you for your time.
Next, please. Next, we have Megan Altamore, then Sue Stewart, then Deb Young, then Tasha May, then Li Ping Zhu.
Good evening, Mayor Burney and council members. My name is Megan Altamore, and I'm the interim COO at HopeLink, a local nonprofit based here in Redmond that serves more than 60,000 people annually in King and Snohomish counties. I'm here tonight to voice both my personal support as an employer here in Redmond, as well as HopeLink's support for the Plymouth Supportive Housing Project on Cleveland Street. Permanent supportive housing is a critical, proven best practice that has been slow to be developed in East King County. In the 20 years that I've worked here in Redmond, I have watched the number of individuals living outdoors steadily increase as the cost of living has risen, along with many other complicating factors. The individuals and families experiencing homelessness here are our neighbors. At HopeLink, we talk to local individuals needing food, financial assistance, housing, transportation support daily, many of whom are living outdoors. The addition of this housing and the high-quality services that Plymouth will provide will make our community safer and more stable. Our unhoused neighbors will have a safe, stable place to live in a caring community. When this housing is built and our unhoused neighbors moved in, we will be honored to provide all of HopeLink's services that we can to support their success. Please continue forward and authorize the land transfer for Plymouth Housing to build this critically needed resource for our community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and for the care that you are showing for all members of our community.
Next, we have Sue Stewart, then Deb Young, then Tasha May, then Li Ping Zhu, then Elbert Stilbaugh.
Does the light come on first?
No, I will tell you. Go ahead.
Good evening. I am Sue Stewart. I used to be the chair of the Human Services Commission back in 2016 and 2017, and I've been a resident of this fine community since 1981, over 40 years. I am a strong supporter of this program. What I'm hearing people say negatively about the Plymouth Housing Project is rooted in what I believe is fear. I hear it, and to some degree I can understand it, but at the end of the day, I still have to ask, how and where do we help these people in need? We can't help them while they sleep and camp on various public right-of-ways. They need a place that they can call home, where they know they will be safe, where for many they will know they can get help and services. This model has been widely used in this country and is considered one of the best ways to address the issues surrounding housing insecurity and the many issues that have led people to being homeless. We already have a permanent supportive housing project here in Redmond. It is the Together Center. This facility would likely be a strong partner of Plymouth Housing personnel as they offer many of the services these residents will need. What isn't being said that I think many don't know is that Council has already created rules, standards, and policies related to permanent supportive housing, as well as shelters and transitional housing, all of which are here now in Redmond. These rules were the subject of a robust public engagement process started in August in 2021. Municipal Code, for your references, is Chapter 2157. The reality is that this project has years to go before it's even occupied. The permits and technical review will come first, and as they prepare to find construction companies and begin construction, which will take another couple of years, meanwhile, during this time, the rules as outlined by the municipal code will create the best opportunity for those who fear the project to work with staff, to work with Plymouth and the Redmond Police, and to not only voice their concerns, but to help develop the rules and standards that will seek to ensure the facility will be safe as is humanly possible for all concerned. But let's keep in mind that these future residents are in fact human and do have issues that will likely result in them being fallible from time to time. I believe they deserve a chance to learn from bad choices, knowing that there are people and resources available to them to be better and to live in a safe place where failure is not an immediate expulsion to the streets. It will be our community's commitment to see them through these hard times, that with compassion and consideration to their humanity, they will learn and subscribe to a different way of life that will help them to live full and productive lives. Thank you.
Next, we have Deb Young, then Tasha May, then Li Ping Zhu, then Elbert Stilbaugh, then Martez Johnson.
Hi. I don't know if I'm loud enough or not. I was here for one reason, and it seems to have changed the content. Yeah, I am very concerned with what I've come to know. I just want to say, I'm not going to put any names onto anybody because I don't think it's respectful, but this is not your council, not your personally as council members. This is our council as well. I don't want anybody to ever forget that. I've been in and out of this council, well, the new remodeled one, since I was 12 years old, sitting there watching my dad trying to learn at a young age. I never thought I was going to be coming down to the city hall to try to fight for our right to speak. Things were really rushed through very fast, to the extent of not even waiting for one of your council members to be present. It was a real hurry. It didn't have to be that way. Everybody wants the best thing. I'm also a nurse, a retired nurse. I see it a little bit differently. I cannot imagine walking into an AA meeting and handing out a recovering alcoholic a bottle of wine. That isn't enabling these people. I really feel like if this is going to happen, I've been there, done that, I've seen it. I've done codes for other reasons. It isn't pretty. It's sad. You deal with it and then you react later. I just think that there's got to be mandatory treatment so that they can be motivated to be in treatment, to stay in the housing. And there's no required, it's to my understanding, that any of this is. You might say strict regulations. You know you can't do strict regulations. And I'm just wondering how many detectives are on our police force right now? How many real detectives? Our police offices, I think, try so hard, and they can't get to things right now. I know that for a fact. So to put more on them and have these people not be in treatment, I'm sorry. I guess that's my time.
Next, we have Tasha May, Li Ping Zhu, Elbert Stilbaugh, Martez Johnson, and Aspen Richter.
Hi, good evening, Council. First, I just want to set here that I come before you guys today as a former unhoused individual. Matter of fact, I was one of the first residents in 1999 to be a part of the Hope Link transitional housing in downtown Bellevue, and now I'm standing before you today with two amazing, handsome adult sons who are doing amazing in this world. But what they had was transitional housing, and there was a program involved. In permanent supportive housing, there's an S called support, but unfortunately, it's actually optional. And I'm saying that because I also stand before you as an advocate, but also as a former Plymouth Housing employee. And this is in the recent future. And I resigned on good terms. I did my 2-week notice and everything, even helped the new site manager transition into her role. But I just want to share with you my personal experiences working inside that space and why I chose to resign. Just so you know, I still work in the industry, but I'm working for an organization that actually wants to help people and allows me to do that and doesn't stop me from doing that. Also, I'm a former Redmond resident as well. I have got my first permanent apartment here, so I will say that. So it's nice to be back in this area. But tonight, as an advocate, I want to share a little story with you. I work for another organization that we did a lot of referrals to Plymouth Housing, and when they would get placed, we were so excited. They would have their new keys, their beautiful new apartment, and we thought we did something. And then a few years later, I went to work for Plymouth Housing. Definitely a raise in income, an opportunity to make a difference and make more money for me and my 2 children, the 2 that are in college. I got inside, I had a lot of plans, I presented a plan for them and everything. I wanted to raise morale of staff and everything. And the first thing I was met with was, "You're doing too much. Stop emailing executives. Stop sending us pictures of all the violence and all the things that are happening inside. Oh, you need security? We'll try to get someone there today." That's what I was dealing with. And yes, I do have documentation of everything because I'm an advocate and I know how to do that. This is not just hearsay. These are my personal experiences. I got so tired of trying to help and then pushing back and not letting me actually help people and be the S in supportive housing that I decided I could not be there anymore. I left on good terms. I did my job. I did the best that I could. But one of the things that hurt me the most was when a resident said, "I knew you weren't going to last very long because you're too nice." And that broke my heart. Because I actually care about people and I come from an unhoused situation and I actually was there to make a difference and they didn't want that. So I could not align with the organization that cares more about expansion than people's lives. Thank you.
Next, we have Li Ping Zhu, Elbert Stilbaugh, Martez Johnson, Aspen Richter, and then Justin Bruning. Li Ping?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Firstly, I want to express the usage of public land should involve the community, which was neglected by the Redmond City Hall initially. And using the public raised tax money, but no telling to public. It is called non-transparent governance. And without the transparency, who will trust the www.redmond.gov you just promoted? Secondly, I firmly believe that individuals grappling with addictions or other issues can benefit from professional assistance. Maybe constructing a rehabilitation center or supporting an existing ones would be a more constructive approach than allowing a low-barrier apartment where free drugs are available and it's very easily. And placing this Plymouth Center near an elementary school also sends the wrong message to children and contradicts our parents' efforts to instill values of hard work and resilience. Thirdly, drug assumption attracts drug dealers. On November 20, 2023, a known drug dealer dealt drugs at the Porchlight Men's Shelter in Belleville, but the manager from that center repeatedly showed up at Redmond Council meeting and told the public that everything in the shelter was great. People with special interests will lie, but the fact never lie. Lastly, regarding a hate speech from the email I received, I was here last time and some other public hearings. There was no expression of hate speech. Please show your respect to public through your wording. Osman, you? Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have Elbert Stilbot, Martez Johnson, Aspen Richter, Justin Brunig, and Amy Liu.
I'm Albert Silbaugh, and since 1983, I've been watching Redmond change. And change is good sometimes, and it's all about location, location, location. Over the last 25 years, I've been working one-on-one with kids in different neighborhoods. And there are many things I'm sorry that I've done in my life. One, I'm sorry I voted for mail in voting many years ago. And I'm sorry I continue to enable slums by not heeding the signs of a community deteriorating faster than it takes to flatten a city block with homemade mom and pop stores, now forever gone. How do I know? I drive through the canyons of Cleveland Street and Redmond Way. I see the developing gullies of Northeast 162, 64, and 66 being framed by Legos 5 to 7 stories high. Sorry, Mr. Lego. But it is what I don't see that bothers me. I pray for the kids who will be growing up in these overcrowded blocks that will fail to confine the new glorified cultural blight that a $42 million park will not contain on a hot summer evening or a freezing December day. I understand now why the city wants to continue to enable bad behavior only several blocks from an elementary school. It's where the power and the money flows. Ask the slaves trapped in Chicago, Portland, Detroit, Frisco, or Seattle how doing the same thing again and again is working out for them. May God have mercy on us who messes with our kids. Thank you.
Next we have Martez Johnson, then Aspen Richter, then Justin Brunig, then Amy Liu, then Kevin Folkman. Go ahead.
Good evening, esteemed City Council members of Redmond. My name is Martez Johnson, and I am a local business owner in the Seattle area. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here representing our local community, residents, and businesses, seeking to propose an innovative, sustainable maintenance service that can seamlessly integrate into your city's waste collection program. The organization I am here representing is Northwest EcoClean. Northwest EcoClean is a locally owned, minority-owned, and first responder-owned enterprise that provides an innovative container sanitizing service. This service offers practical, effective solutions to the current challenges residents face with unhygienic, bacteria-filled compost bins that attract pests, emit unpleasant odors, and pose sanitation hazards. Our goal is to implement a sustainable and hygienic approach to waste management that enhances the quality of life in our communities. By adding a container sanitizing service to your waste collection program, you will allow residents to receive a once-a-year cleaning of those bins. And of the businesses, they will get their compost dumpsters cleaned as well. Some of the benefits to the service include improved sanitation and hygiene, reduced complaints, and overall improved customer service and overall customer experience, reduction in odor and pest infestations. I know a lot of people have to deal with those maggots when that compost goes out. And so in addition to providing tangible benefits to residents, our approach aligns with the Council's goals for promoting public health and environmental sustainability. We use only 2 to 5 gallons of water per home compared to the average of 16 gallons of DIY projects. We also avoid using hazardous chemicals and opting for extreme hot water. And all of our water is collected on site, none of it, so you don't have to worry about runoffs or anything into our streams or waterways. So furthermore, our service supports equitable economic development by providing job opportunities for underserved communities. We plan to collaborate with the local nonprofit organizations such as the WDC to share our job openings and offer competitive pay. I encourage the city to consider the positive impact of implementing this service by incorporating Northwest EcoClean into your waste management program. We are taking a step towards a cleaner, healthier, and more vibrant community for all residents. Thank you for your time. You guys have a great night.
Next, we have Aspen Richter, who's number 10, if you're counting, Justin Brunig, Amy Liu, Kevin Folkman, and Bob Yoder.
Good evening, Mayor Burney, City Council, and audience members. My name is Aspen Richter. I am a resident of Redmond, and I hear many fears in this room and the last time we were all in this room about what might happen if this building comes into our community. All of us want safety in our city, but excluding 100 individuals from housing is not directly connected to guaranteeing safety in our community. We are talking about 100 residents in a city of tens of thousands is a tiny percentage. And the thing is that those 100 people are already here. I see them when I'm at the library or at the grocery store or near the freeway, and they are not leading to a wave of crime sweeping our streets. We are fine. By helping them into a housing and a stable life, that actually will have a direct link to safety in our community and to a better life for these neighbors. And I've asked myself, am I a hypocrite? I do not have children anymore who are young enough to enjoy Anderson Park. It was always our favorite park for years in the entire East Side. So I asked myself, if I were there now with my children when they were small, how would I feel with Plymouth housing across the street? And I thought about it, and I decided I would feel safer with people in safe, secure housing getting the help they needed than with them on the street. And so I leave you with that thought and say to the City Council and the Mayor, please continue to support Plymouth housing. Thank you.
Next, we have Justin Brunig, then Amy Liu, then Kevin Folkman, then Bob Yoder, then Alyssa Feifel.
Hello. I would like to voice my general support for Plymouth housing and additional projects that help low-income individuals and families live in our city. I would also like to see more projects that also focus on purchasable arch units and not just renting. Regarding specifics about this building, I would like some thought put into if the building needs to actually have the same amount of parking that is being designed in. The building is directly next to light rail and on the central connector. There should be more units and less parking. I would also like to I would like to also mention that I think some of the signs that I've seen placed around town regarding this being drug allowed are disingenuous. I've never been drug tested when renting an apartment or before purchasing my house. Why would we subject someone to that just because they make less than median income? Low-income people deserve the same amount of dignity as any person.
Next, we have Amy Liu, then Kevin Folkman, then Bob Yoder, then Alyssa Feifel, then Linda Yang.
Good evening, Mayor Burney, City Council members, and staff. My name is Amy Liu, and I'm here today on behalf of Microsoft. Microsoft launched our affordable housing initiative in 2019. We've committed $750 million in investment and philanthropic funds to help address the regional affordable housing crisis. We've worked with partners, including housing developers, nonprofit providers, civic and business leaders, and many others to support solutions. Those efforts have helped create or preserve over 1,200 affordable housing units in our region. We've been particularly proud of helping to make the new Together Center a reality. We're also proud to provide significant financial support for the Plymouth Proof campaign, which created 6 permanent supportive housing projects, including Plymouth Crossing in Bellevue. We support a broad variety of housing types across all income levels. We support permanent supportive housing as an important tool to address the region's homelessness challenges. We believe housing and human services need to be expanded and accessible in cities throughout and across the region. We applaud the City of Redmond for its strong commitment to policies and initiatives that have led to create housing that is so badly needed. We understand that significant public resources and urgently needed permanent supportive housing units would have likely been lost without your quick action. Thank you for your services and for your leadership. That concludes my official remarks. On a personal note, as a proud Asian American, as a child of Chinese immigrants, and as a mother, I want to offer my personal gratitude to you for your leadership and for your service. Thank you.
Next up is Kevin Folkman, then Bob Yoder, then Alyssa Feifel, then Linda Yang, then Lisa Tracy.
Mayor and council members, thank you. My wife and I have lived in Redmond for 30 years. She's a retired school teacher from the Lake Washington District. We had 5 children graduate from Redmond High. I'm a board member of the Eastside Interfaith Social Concerns Council, and I'm here to say that when it costs over $90,000, when you have to earn over $90,000 a year to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in this area, it's no wonder that we have a homeless problem. We need projects like the Plymouth housing opportunity that is provided to help people transition out of homelessness who are working but have no other options for home, for a place to call home. So we just wanted to let you know that you have our support in this effort. Thank you.
Next is Bob Yoder, then Alyssa Feifel, then Linda Yang, then Lisa Tracy, then Penny McLean.
Esteemed council and mayor, I'm Bob Yoder, and I've lived in Redmond for about 40 years. This is obviously something I've never seen before. And one of the things I do is write a blog called, it's redmondblog.org. And I've handed out some cards so that you can find it, and I recommend looking at it via the desktop. I don't know if I said I try to take a middle-of-the-road reporting, and I'm following, obviously, this controversy. I think one of the main reasons I'm here is it's so difficult to look at all of this in this situation here. In the City Hall right now. And so I'm recommending neighborhood meetings where we can break up into small groups and have community Q&A with elected officials, Plymouth staff, and stakeholders, community stakeholders. Possibly at the Together Center, One Redmond meetings here at City Hall, select neighborhoods, Kiwanis Club, and other places. Just to give you some background on my blog posts, Steve Fields, Councilmember Fields, wrote a really good one on neighborhood meetings. There's a statement in there by Vice President Jessica Forsyth. Actually, it's a letter that's interesting. There's an announcement just today of a Plymouth business focus group tomorrow, and it's just for business folks that are close to the light rail. Also, there's an article in there, how to make a say to council and the mayor. There is a way to do it. I did with Councilmember Fields last night by phone. His number is on my website. There's also an opinion in there on what the mayor can do, and let me see, human services available by Plymouth. It mentions some of those. And there's a Q&A on the Plymouth project written by the city. And finally, the city council had a review earlier today at 4:30 this afternoon discussing the public safety meeting aspects of Plymouth housing, and Councilmember Osmond led that meeting. So in deference to time, thank you.
Next, we have Alyssa Feifel, Linda Yang, Lisa Tracy, Penny McLean, Natalia, I can't read your last name, get to that, and Margaret Grimes Elliott.
Okay. Hi, my name is Alyssa Feifel. I apologize, I do not like public speaking, but as someone who works with women experiencing homelessness almost every day, I, as well as my coworkers, were very excited to see that Plymouth was going to be putting a permanent supportive housing building in Redmond. We see hundreds of people who have had horrendous things happen to them that have led them to be in the situations that they are in currently. We have seen a lot of people in this community upset about this building, arguing that it's because of drug use. I have a hard time believing that this is the real reason people are upset, because the reality is this isn't a problem of people being afraid of drugs, it's a problem of people being afraid of homeless people. But I will tell you this, a majority of the clients I work with are not on drugs. A majority of them have become homeless because of abuse or being laid off or falling ill, mental illnesses, or being disabled. And the ones who have used drugs as a way to cope with the immense trauma that being homeless causes. No one wants to be homeless. This is not a drug issue, it's a human issue. Everyone deserves to have a place to call home, a place to better themselves, and a place to feel safe. Thank you.
Next, we have Linda Yang, then Lisa Tracy, then Penny McLean, and Natalia, I think it's Shabazz, and then Margaret Grimes Elliott.
Dear Mayor Bernie and council members, thank you for the opportunity to give a public comment today. We all know that the council's decision to stifle public comment could come at any time now. I want to remind the council that Washington Constitution said all political powers is inherent in the people, and the government derive its just powers from the consent of the governed, and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. The council meeting is not your meeting. You are sitting in your council chair conducting the people's business. That is why the state law requires you to conduct meeting in the eyes of the public, and that is why the state law requires a public comment period at every regular council meetings. You are elected by the people and for the people. As the city attorney explained to you at the study session on April 9th, under the First Amendment, hate speech really is not a thing. Councilmember Melissa Stewart, you may not like the city attorney's interpretation. However, the First Amendment is American people's First Amendment right. You do not reside above the law. You do not reside above the people. You may not like what I just said. Under the proposed anti-hate speech rule, will you terminate my public comment, or even ban me from giving public comment or attending council meetings for up to 6 months? Lawmakers who disrespect the country's laws are unfit to be lawmakers. Council members, banning people from speaking at council meetings, you're really going out of your way to destroy this democracy in Redmond. If you do not like what people are saying during public comment time, maybe you should ask yourself, are you doing your job representing the people? Now back to the Plymouth housing issue. I said it before and I'm saying it again. I do not oppose having affordable housing at the Cleveland Street location. I do have a problem with the zero transparency process. I do have a problem with you giving Plymouth House seeing the land without proper vetting. And I do have a problem with the council giving planning director Carrie Helen the unchecked power to spend the city's money on Plymouth housing project. On April 6, 2024, there was a NORCOM call about 3 subjects shooting up hearing outside Plymouth Crossing in Bellevue. November 10, 2023, Porch Light staff report knowing drug dealer who deals drug at the shelter. You just heard Tasha's comment. Plymouth Housing allows drug use in the building without properly taking care of tenants and staff. Drug consumption attract drug dealers. It is happening in Victoria, and you're bringing that to downtown Redmond, across the street from Anderson Park and 2 blocks away from Redmond Elementary School. What are you thinking? If you really care about community, you should pause, go through RFP, and choose a reputable provider, not the one that grew its asset 5-fold in 4 short years while riding the region's homeless crisis, not the one that pays its executives $250,000 a year, yet does not want to invest in the training of its staff and the care of its tenants. Thank you.
Next, we have Lisa Tracy, then Penny McLean, then Natalia Shvets, then Margaret Grimes-Elliott, and then Jim Holcomb.
Good evening. I have had 6 children graduate from Redmond High. I have lived on the Hill for 40 plus years, and I have 27 grandchildren, and I care about what happens to short people and tall people and old people and young people. We care about the homeless community. We care about their needs being met. But as a member of the community that lived on Education Hill, who saw great support from this city council on tent city encampments, my children and my grandchildren were the beneficiaries of all of the paraphernalia that was left on the Puget Power Trail when all those folks who, quote, didn't do drugs and were good, upstanding citizens, just homeless, found little cubby holes out on the trail and left all of their drug paraphernalia. And so I find it challenging to believe that Plymouth Housing is going to protect all the children at Anderson Park and at Redmond L from finding the same paraphernalia in their neighborhood after this goes through. And the reality is, the majority of people here are protesting and concerned about the process that was used to bring this to us. $5.5 million is a lot of money, and part of it was my money. And you did this action in a very short window of time. You didn't ask the community, and from our standpoint, it sure feels like you wanted to vote and give the land away before your community had input. So we feel like disenfranchised members of this process. And yet you want us to believe that Plymouth Housing is the best agency out there to take care of a housing unit with all of our money in one basket for 100 people. And yet there's no way for me to believe, based on the reviews I've read everywhere, that they really have the ability to do that. So I would ask you to look at the fact that your constituents are concerned about the process you used, about the fact that we felt like it was a backdoor policy to avoid our input. That's why we keep coming, because we think you tricked us. Plymouth Housing might be a wonderful neighbor in some communities, but I don't know that they're a good fit for Redmond. And I would challenge you to tell me how they are going to really protect the children. Some people believe this is fear, and you're right, it is. I'm very fearful of people who will get hurt because we tried so hard for 100 people. Thank you.
Next, we have Penny McLean, then Natalia Shvets, then Margaret Grimes-Elliott, then Jim Holcomb, then Al Rosenthal.
Can I start?
Penny? Yes.
Hello. My name is Natalia Shvets.
Oh, no, hang on. Penny McLean? Penny McLean. Penny McLean. All right. Go ahead, Natalia.
Okay. No one in this room against affordable housing, okay? No one in this room against helping the homelessness. But what concern about is the way of being done, the lack of public input, the lack of transparency, and the disregard of the community that the project will affect the most. You are very ambitious, and I see that all you want to make is a positive impact and stride forward the solving housing crisis. But before you ambitions, your first priority should be us, the residents of Redmond, the people your decisions affect the most. Public input is needed. More time is needed. Public hearings are needed. Don't Redmond pride itself of being a diverse community that welcomes everybody? The lack of input of residents whom this project will affect into solving what a very complex problem shows that you do not value our thoughts on city matters. Safety concerns are not being addressed. Location concern not being addressed. Concern about Plymouth and housing, the company itself have not been addressed. And finally, at least I believe that maybe these conversations is what we should have had before spending millions of setting the project in full swings. I impose you to remember that you serve the community, the public first, before your ambitions. The problem we are trying to solve is hard, and the more voices in City Hall, the easier it will be. And the last, I don't think that the truth that you don't want to hear is a hate speech. And also, if I still have time, I want to add that think about this project. You said that like so many homeless people, we need to help them. That like we need to help our community, not bring more homeless people through around the United States. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Next is Margaret. Is it Grimes-Elliott?
Good evening, Council and Mayor.
Just one moment. Let me reset this. And you're number 20 for those keeping count. Then Jim Holcomb, then Al Rosenthal, then Ralph Klein. Go ahead.
Okay. I have been a resident here over 30 years in Redmond. I love Redmond. I also just recently retired as the manager of an affordable housing community. And I am totally for affordable housing. I think it's a wonderful thing. I've seen many people's lives changed for the better. My issue is the low barrier housing, where the criteria for moving in are so low that pretty much anybody can live there. And that is scary. Yes, I am afraid, and I think there's a reason to be afraid. I have seen what happens when people do not have to abide by rules. And so I guess that's it. That's, in a nutshell, I really do understand the plight this is. But this community, I'd hate to see it turn into another Seattle. Thanks.
Next is Jim Holcomb, then Al Rosenthal, then Ralph Klein, then Olga Kristoforkova, then Vladimir Samarsky. Jim Holcomb? Jim Holcomb. Al Rosenthal, then Ralph Klein, then Olga Kristoforkova, then Vladimir Samarsky.
Thank you. I've observed during the last two open mics, foreign-born immigrants were 100% against Plymouth housing, where drugs are allowed. And it's on video. They are allowed. Like the foreign-born immigrants, most of the other tax-paying residents of Redmond were against Plymouth housing. Most of the speakers that were for Plymouth housing were residents of Polaris at Together Center, a huge nonprofit housing center. Looks like about 900 apartments, and that property pays no taxes over on Northeast 87th Street. Or people from homeless agencies from outside of Redmond, or churches, none of them pay taxes in Redmond. Unlike the persons who pay property taxes and were against Plymouth housing where drugs are allowed. The Redmond City Council claims to care about immigrants, but you completely ignore that 100% of the immigrants spoke 2 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago against Plymouth housing apartments where drugs are allowed. Do you ignore immigrants because English is their second language and you think they are inferior to you? I care about the problems that Plymouth housing apartments will cause. I don't live in Redmond, but I have owned a commercial property in Redmond since 1995, back when the coyotes were just on the block away from us, running wild in the woods. And I pay this in 2024, I will pay $38,000 in property taxes. You seem to care more about non-residents and groups of persons in Redmond that do not pay property taxes in Redmond than you care about tax-paying residents and tax-paying foreign-born immigrants. On March 19th, the open mic, 12 foreign-born citizens spoke. 100% of them were against Plymouth. On April 2nd, 6 foreign-born people spoke, and 100% of them were against Plymouth. The immigrants that spoke came to the United States and Redmond for freedom, prosperity, and safety, especially safety. If they wanted what Plymouth housing will bring, they could have just moved to Seattle. You're not pro-immigrant just because you say you are. Listen to the immigrants. They know what they're talking about. On your website, why don't you put the video that I sent you, Jonathan Cho did, over at Plymouth Housing in Seattle and show them what Plymouth housing really is like. You should put that on your website. Thank you.
Next is Ralph Klein, then Olga Kristoforkova, then Vladimir Samarsky, then Pavel Chikolov, I think maybe, and then Pavel Stepanov. Ralph?
Yeah, I've been a resident for Redmond 35, almost 36 years. I live out in the Education Hill area, and I've been involved in some of the city council stuff way many years ago. And my comment is more a point of information regarding the Plymouth project. And I came here actually to get background information, and I got some email was kind of emotional, and so I wanted to just come out and see what this is all about, because I didn't know you had something posted on the website, and I was remiss on looking there. I just want to know if, has there been an impact analysis of some sort on the decision before the council made the decision? And if so, can you take a look at that? Is it available to the public? The other one is there some type of public committee that's been established that, can invite some members of the audience or the citizens to participate? I was involved in something in 2008, way back with the previous mayor. Is there, let's see, what is the legal basis for what the council did? And perhaps the most important thing that I'm wondering about in terms of the project is what controls are in place. I was a former corporate auditor for a while. So what controls are in place, and I worked in security, but I want to know what type of controls are in place to ensure if Plymouth is implemented, what guarantees success? What are the measurable criteria to ensure that this program will achieve the objectives that it hopes to achieve? And so I'm here as a citizen just trying to find out what are the facts and data, because that's what really matters in the bottom line. And so I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
All right, next we have Olga Kristoforkova, Vladimir Samarsky, Pavel Chipolov, and then Pavel Stepanov. Olga. No Olga. Vladimir Vladimir. We have two Pavels in a row, Pavel C, then Pavel S. Is Pavel C here? Yeah, Pavel C is here. Thank you. Can you tell me how to say your last name? I'm sorry.
Chikulaev.
Chikulaev. Okay, great. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, all right. Good evening, council members, mayor. This is another Tuesday I would prefer to spend differently. I'm among concerned citizens that are very worried about where we're going with two important matters. The first one is Plymouth project in downtown Redmond. I and the people I represent are against it, but we're not against the helping homeless people. I repeat, we're not against helping homeless people in Redmond. We're against specifically Plymouth and where it's located and how it's being executed by the city. All who support it, please go to Safe East Side and read the facts and see the proposal and try to debunk it. We're here to get the best what we can for the Redmond. The city still fails to answer the legit questions community asking. We know most home people are good people, but we don't want heroin addicts or sex offenders in the heart of the East Side. It just, and this is exactly what happened in other Plymouth properties, unfortunately. I want my 3 daughters and other kids and other girls to be safe in downtown Redmond day or night. We want to help who are struggling, and we want them to get back to normal life, but we urge you to rescind the Plymouth project as it stands today and start over with the public input in mind and take it slow this time. And secondly, on the second topic, even considering restricting public to give comments is crazy to me, I'm sorry. We're all reasonable people here. We're just providing feedback, and the feedback is a blessing, as they say, especially the critical one, because it makes you better. And we're not working against you, we're working with you. We're working to make it Redmond the best we can with the most efficient funding spending as possible. So do not restrict democracy. Thank you.
Next, we have Pavel Stefanov, then Chris Lanterman, then Hui Yi Lung, then Acha Icham. Get that right.
Hello, council people, Mayor Bribney. A couple of things before I start. Mr. Osman should probably owe an apology to the public for calling us nibbly in the text messages that you sent. We all aware of us. So you should rescind the giving away the public land to Plymouth housing. Few reasons I'm going to mention. First of all, median income in Redmond is above $150,000. Median home price is $1.3 million. Redmond's cost of living is 49% higher than the national average. So bringing homeless people here won't help their costs, because with even a remote possibility of someone getting cleaned up and getting a job, they simply won't be able to afford living here. You're setting them up for failure from the beginning. People do not change, and those people won't change either. So you're essentially doing a disservice to both the homeless people and to the residents of Redmond who pay taxes and who actually elected all of you. We'll be paying with our safety as residents, increased insurance rates, because there will be home break-ins, car break-ins, car prowlings, while you're going to feel righteous about yourselves and feel good about your unwise decisions to go woke. There's a good saying, go woke, go broke. So as a result of your policies, what will happen is some of you will not get voted out. Some of you will get voted out during the next election cycle. People are mad as you have hopelessly escaped to the left from the reality and for what your constituents actually want. The only people you're trying to appease is the woke left, who usually don't vote. So your chances of re-elections will look very bleak. Mayor Bribney, and that's what I'm going to call you, Mayor Bribney, you made it national news when your terrorist-supporting daughter Rachel has been ripping off flyers of Israeli hostages at USC. So you probably don't care about this blowback, but it shows what kind of person you are, as the parents are ultimately responsible for their upbringing of their children. I hope more voters see you, who you are, as you are the disgrace, and you should resign immediately your post. Thank you.
Let's see, we have Chris Lanterman, then Hui Yi Lung, then, I don't know, can you read that one? and then Aka Ikem, and then Karen Tennyson. Chris Lanterman.
It's the first time that I come here, and I'm looking in the audience, and I'm looking at you, City Council, supposedly representing the community, and I'm very disappointed. The many names that you called from the community got absolutely disgusted, and they left. We could see them trickling out. Everybody was excited to have an exchange with you or to present their point. What I want you guys to know is that I'm born out of the United States, and I come from a communist country. Of course, I came legal in this country, not illegal, and I don't agree that immigrants are just immigrants, because some people work and some people take the benefits. If you are looking to give benefits to the ones that are not coming here to work, they are just coming for the benefits, then it's wrong. You have children, maybe you don't live, you don't put them in your backyard, and it is totally disappointing to see that the community that was here, respectful and trying to present their point, and we are a majority, whether you bring Plymouth here or whatever, or make presentations for the line or whatever, this is fake. I'm coming from a communist country, and I know this is the attitude in a communist country. This is what they do there. And people that applaud know better than you. And it is wrong for you and for your children and for this generation to be part into destroying this city. If they want to clean Seattle and bring them in here, that's probably a smart plan according to the woke and to the communist. So reconsider to maybe let space for other people into the city council that want to represent the people. And that's all I have to say.
Next we have Hoi Lung, then Aka Ikem, and then Karen Tennyson, then next Strathy. Go ahead.
Can I start?
Yes.
I want to say I'm against the project. I'm not heartless. Redmond people are not heartless. So I appreciate the agency that has spoken, who help unsheltered, disadvantaged people. We are not against having affordable housing for them, but we are against the way the council has chosen the organization without having public comment. I don't know how a good decision, like a very well thought out decision, can be made in 22 days. You know, on your website, you said you are made aware of this project on February 2024, and the decision was already made in March 2024. So less than a month, you have made a decision. Have you considered other organizations who are going to be better serve Redmond? Do you care about your residents' comments, or you don't really care about that? So that's why the decision is made. So I hope tonight your residents' comment have been heard. That's all I have to say.
Next we have Aka Ikem. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a Nick Strathy? No, Chris Lanterman? Sorry, she went, you were supposed to go when she went.
Okay. Hi, I'm Chris Landerman. There's no way to cover everything I want to say in 3 minutes, but I just want to address two concepts. The first is feedback, and the second is accountability. So feedback, how do we know we did something right? Well, it's really hard to know, obviously, but one way is to get feedback. As we understand it, and maybe the facts are wrong, but there was a quick meeting in February, shortly after another city rejected this proposal, and the city council approved this Plymouth housing measure with little to no feedback from the community. I know we've sent a lot of emails. I don't know, obviously, via email if they were received or if they were read or if they were ignored. We've had, I believe, 3 or 4 council meetings at this point about the general biweekly council meetings, but we've had, these input sessions from the community, and I think a lot of people have showed up. I know there was talk about 3 minutes being shortened to 1 minute. I think you guys addressed that beforehand, but I mean, if there's any merit to that, that kind of just goes to show that our input is not necessarily wanted, which is concerning. I note that last time there was a big limitation on clapping. I personally like the clapping, maybe not too much clapping, but sometimes someone will say something, like last time there was someone talking about parking. I thought it was very interesting. There was some clapping, which means everyone else thought it was interesting as well. And I thought that was useful information. And, you know, I want to apologize a little bit because we're going to be here for 3 or 4 hours. It's annoying for everyone here. It's everyone for me. I went to work this morning. My kids are not woken up yet. I'm probably going to get back home and they'll be in bed, so I won't see them all day. But I think this is very important to most of the community here that we feel like we have to speak up. I think most of us have never had stepped foot in City Hall before this year. And lastly, I wasn't a very political person before this. I'm still not. I think people have reminded you, this is the city council, but you are the stewards of the community. You are not the community. You're not the will of the people. Just by high-level look at the voting margins and the voting of the last election cycle, there are 34,000 eligible voters. I believe at least 2 people here won their election with 7,000 yes votes, and there are 75,000 residents in Redmond total, which means only 20% of the people voted for you. And while you did win with good margins, it's just a very large constituency that's kind of complacent and is not politically active. So I don't think that's necessarily the will of the people. I know last time, a bunch of large organizations were listed as in support of Plymouth housing. And while organizations are in support, I think a lot of individuals have concerns, and individuals probably should get more of the input than just large organizations, many of which are not even based in Redmond. Now on to accountability. So how do people keep accountability? Well, I have 2 kids. I have a 3rd coming on the way. And a lot of it is just, action, reaction, incentive. And anyone with kids knows it's...
And in conclusion.
Oh, that was quick. Okay.
Next, we have Karen Tennyson, then Nick Strothy, then Yelena Yagaliva, then Alexander Sidorenko, then Autumn Meadows.
Good evening, Mayor Bernie, council, and staff. My name is Karen Tennyson, and I have a huge history in supporting affordable housing, and I want to thank you for your willingness to step forward and do the right thing by rescuing the program that was meant for Kenmore. Right thing. So approving the 100 units of permanent supportive housing and giving those among us with the least the chance to live in a safe, secure home means a lot. This will be an excellent addition to our city, increasing our supply of affordable housing stock for those fortunate to be chosen. And I know you're not importing people to live in this project. They're already here, but they're not living in a house. But we need to do more. There are still too many people, especially children, living outside or in unsafe spaces. Plymouth Housing, which has a rich history in supporting people who have housing instability, the services needed to be able to help them develop the skills and attitudes to be successful. Can you imagine living on the street, cold, hungry? Thank goodness for organizations like Plymouth and cities such as Redmond who are willing to step up and be leaders in providing these solutions. I was born in affordable housing, and I've always been grateful for that because it raised my family and allowed all of us to become more successful. So thank you, all of you. You should take a bow for being so courageous.
Next, we have Nick Strathy, then Yelena Yagaliva, then Alexander Sidorenko, then Autumn Meadows, then John Baggy.
Hi, I'm Nick Strathy, longtime resident of Redmond with concerns over the safety issues for the community housing proposed homeless residents across from Anderson Playground. I've been asking for transparency in the housing project in emails to Redmond City Council and also at several council meetings. So far it seems that the city is continuing to move forward without heeding public input. However, thank you to Councillor Osman Salahuddin for your email reply today to my email of with assurance that the proposal to limit public comments at City Hall meetings to 1 minute has been backed away from. My concern lately has become more focused on the assignment of the project management to Plymouth Housing rather than to the faith-based Salvation Army. It is looking like a back-channel maneuvering of the homeless industrial complex, enriching itself off the homeless. Plymouth Housing reportedly has assets running at more than $300 million. That's quite an enterprise, run mostly off our tax dollars. Contrast that with faith-based Salvation Army at $2 million. We don't want Redmond to be a victim of the homeless industry by taking our tax dollars to flood our peaceful community with imported drug addicts, drug dealers, sex offenders, and other criminals to destroy our community. I support my taxes going to assist struggling local residents, including seniors, veterans, and families experiencing financial difficulty. I don't support a residence for a flood of people from all over the map who belong in rehab, a mental hospital, or prison. To respond to an earlier commenter here tonight, it is not unreasonable to subject residents of public subsidized housing to drug testing. In fact, it's only responsible to taxpayers who are subsidizing the housing. Thank you.
Next is Yelena Yagaliva, then Alexander Sidorenko, then Autumn Meadows, then John Baggy, then, try this one. I can't read that one. Wenru Liu?
Sorry, who's next up?
Yelena Yagaliva. Next is Alexander Sidorenko.
That's right.
Correct, okay.
Got it right.
Your time. Go ahead.
Hello, members of the City Council and Mayor. Thank you for taking time to hear my comment. I was born and raised in a country governed by an authoritarian regime. In fact, it's the last dictatorship in Europe. And I moved to the United States 2.5 years ago. There are many, many things I absolutely love about the United States of America. But the best things, by far, in my opinion, are the democratic process and the legal system that works. This is not something I have ever experienced in my life before coming to the United States. And let me tell you, a society where decisions are made by a small group of people without proper democratic process and without public input, this society doesn't prosper. It leads to a very, very dark place. That being said, I'm very supportive of various social programs that help people in different life situations. In fact, I benefited from such programs myself in the past. For example, I received free education. However, I'm concerned about safety of city that I love so much. And I've heard many people today speak confidently that Plymouth project will not increase crime rates in Redmond. If that is truly the case, then voters should have no issue approving this project. Please consider letting people vote on the issue and decide how their tax money is used. Thank you.
Next is Autumn Meadows, then John Baggy, then Wemu Liu, then Evelyn Movar. Autumn? You can pull, yeah, there you go.
Hello, my name is Autumn Meadows. I'm a marginalized member of the community. I have multiple disabilities, including complex PTSD, and I'm Indigenous American by 20%. I have endured chronic homelessness due to my disabilities and have lived experience in the Housing First projects. In Housing First projects, we endured stabbings, shootings, prostitution, and violent drug dealers. My 13-year-old daughter was almost raped. I literally had to become homeless again for 2 more years just to escape because living in my house, living in my car was safer. I hear all these good people being called NIMBYs and attempt to marginalize their voice and are very real concerns. And I'm here to tell you those concerns are very real and I barely survived them. You are not helping the homeless people when in these Housing First projects. You're not getting us the real help that we need to lead on real road to recovery. We are dying from being stabbed, shot, drug overdoses and suicide, because we are not getting drug recovery, we are not getting mental health services, and we are left to die. And these sites have no 24/7 security. Your taxpayer, you have right to not have your taxpayers go to multi-million-dollar housing projects that prey on the most vulnerable and reap millions of dollars in funding from Section 8 and not truly get us the help that we need on the road to recovery. We deserve safe housing. We deserve real recovery, and we deserve not to die in our homes. Thank you.
Next, we have John Baggy. John. And then Wimu Liu. I think it's Wimu. Evelyn Morvar. Evelyn. Evelyn. Rick Zucker. Hey, someone's here. Brady Nordstrom. Ginger Wang. And then Lily Wang. Rick?
I live in downtown Redmond. I live around the corner from the Together Center, and people may not be aware there's other subsidized housing like Forest Glen around here. And it seems like there's a lot of fear being generated, and people don't even realize that there are these places here. And it seems like people are distorting everything. The city's FAQ is very clear. The concerns people generally bring up have been addressed, and it seems like people keep on saying, oh, we want to support the homeless and everything, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like they are really just trying to come up with reasons to something that they're afraid of. And it's really not in sync with the welcoming attitude Redmond has expressed. I wish I could be as eloquent as some of the others have spoken. And I do appreciate the time and the effort the council members put into their jobs. It's a big sacrifice. And as far as emails, I have sent emails to all the council members, and I believe they are getting read because I've gotten responses. Thank you.
Next is Brady Nordstrom, then Ginger Wang, then Lily Wang, then Jesse Simpson.
Hello, Council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Brady Nordstrom, and I'm here on behalf of the Eastside Housing Roundtable, and we are a group that started in about 2021, and we bring together a bunch of voices from across business, nonprofits, housing advocates, private and nonprofit housing creators, and I think that this was spurred by a challenge in the region that we don't have housing at a lot of income levels, especially at 0 to 30. I know that all of you know this, but it's especially difficult because there's challenges with funding, there's challenges with all these other things, but we know that there's a direct correlation that when rents go up and housing costs go up, homelessness increases, and the answer to that is housing. So we come together and we support housing across the income spectrum, and this includes permanent supportive housing. And I'll try to make my comments short, but who knows? But I think the overall message is thank you. This is a courageous thing. There were specific funding requirements and all these other pressures that came into this situation, and you had to look at the situation and make a decision, which is difficult. And what do you do when you're trying to make a decision when there's time constraints and other constraints where this funding would have been lost and it's investment that can now come into the city? You look at your strategies, you look at your values, you look at all these things, and you have a housing action plan that identifies strategies that are that correspond exactly to this. And also, this parcel was designated for affordable housing, which includes permanent supportive housing. So there's a lot there, but I think I'll just comment that permanent supportive housing is the right solution to address homelessness. And if you look across the research, there's studies and there's lots and lots of studies. It performs better than treatment first approaches. It performs, I mean, it's the best tool that we know of. And so using the evidence in front of us, and I know that there's a lot of, there's a lot out there in the world, but if we just look at what tools perform the best, this is the best one that we have. And not every site that claims to be housing first follows all the things in the model. And I think Redmond's in a specific position where the Redmond zoning code has all of these opportunities to plan with community that haven't happened yet. And so I think that we just want to say thank you for doing this. We appreciate that there's going to be opportunities to design how this property operates. And I think that across the board from all the organizations that we work with, that we support working with community and local businesses to address these concerns and make this a success. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Next is Ginger Wong, then Lily Wong, then Jesse Simpson, then Ethan Robinson, then Cabra Richards. I think it's Ginger. Ginger Wong? Lily? Lily. Jesse Simpson? Great. Then Ethan Robinson, then I think it's either Cobby or Cabre Richards, then Deb Noss. Go ahead.
Thanks. Good evening, council members. I'm Jesse Simpson. I'm the Government Relations and Policy Manager for the Housing Development Consortium. We're a member-based organization representing the nonprofit affordable housing developers, operators, providers who are working hard to build and maintain the affordable housing that our region and that Redmond desperately needs. I want to express my sincere gratitude for the actions of this council to move forward the Plymouth Housing Permanent Supportive Housing Development. Our region's high housing costs affect nearly everyone. People struggle to pay rent, know they'll never be able to buy a home in the community they live, face unaffordable property taxes, wonder why their kids can't afford to live anywhere nearby. But it's people making extremely low incomes, less than 30% of AMI, or $27,000 for a single person, bear the biggest brunt of this housing crisis. They can't find housing anywhere in the private market that's remotely affordable to them. They're left at one bad event away from homelessness, basically, bouncing around between shelters or faced with the prospect of sleeping on the streets. And for those who do become homeless, the day-to-day and year-to-year brunt and reality of living on the streets takes a big toll on people's physical and mental health. Stable, permanent, and affordable housing paired with supportive services is the solution to this. Having an affordable place to call home is it's life-changing. It's the foundation on which people can build the rest of their lives. It's the basis on which people can get connected with the services they need, with healthcare, addiction treatment, job opportunities, and whatever other opportunities they need to be able to thrive. Plymouth Housing has a strong track record of creating lasting stability for the residents who live in their buildings and working to serve their residents as best they can. These 100 permanent supportive homes will have a profound impact on the people who will be housed, offering our suffering neighbors a chance to rebuild their lives with dignity. Thanks for your commitment to addressing the serious issues of housing insecurity and homelessness in our city and region head-on with evidence-based and compassionate solutions. Thanks.
Next is Ethan Robinson, then Cobby or Cabri Richards, then Deb Noss, then Joy Ashizawa. Ethan?
Thank you, President Kritzer and esteemed council members. My name is Ethan Robinson. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm here on behalf of Habitat for Humanity, Seattle, King, and Kittitas counties to express our support for the Plymouth Housing Project here in Redmond and to thank this council for its decisive support of affordable housing solutions for its community. For close to 4 decades, our affiliate has been providing homeownership opportunities for people in Redmond and across Western Washington. We firmly believe that it's our collective responsibility to build a world where everyone has a safe, decent, and affordable place to call home. Excuse me, technical issues. This necessitates establishing supportive systems across the entire housing continuum. By investing in initiatives like permanent supportive housing, we not only provide stability to our neighbors, but we also pave the way for improved job security, mental health, recovery, and self-reliance for people closest to the problems we're trying to solve. These individuals aren't just statistics, transient, or strangers. They are our neighbors, friends, children, seniors, and veterans. Familiar faces to many in this community facing hardships that could easily befall any of us. Having called Redmond home for many years, I deeply appreciate the sense of community and belonging that this city offers. I want to thank this council for recognizing the challenges our community faces and being proactive in supporting critical solutions. Habitat believes in supporting our neighbors, but we also know that if we want to make the dream of home ownership a reality for more families, it's imperative that we address the housing crisis head-on. On behalf of Habitat SKC and myself, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to this council and all supporters of the Plymouth Housing Project. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the city of Redmond.
Next is Kabri Richards, Deb Noss, Joy Ashizawa, Raymond Zhang, Sergey Zinochin, and then David Haynes. Kabi?
My name is Kabri Richards.
Kabri, thank you.
I'm a resident of Redmond and a homeowner of Redmond, and I'm simply here just exercising my constitutional rights and saying that I have concerns about this Plymouth Housing Project, and I echo what the other concerns have been tonight. Thank you.
Next is Deb Noss, then Joy Ashizawa, then Raymond Zhang, then Sergey Zinochin, then David Haynes.
Hi, my name's Deb Knaus. My husband and I are proud residents of Redmond, and we've been here for over 20 years. We've raised our 3 children here. It's so simple to view people unfairly through discrimination and biases, especially when looking at those experiencing homelessness, substance use with disorders, or those dealing with mental health disorders. I want you to know that the people that I've met throughout my life that are dealing with these circumstances are decent human beings doing the best that they can, just like many of you in this room. Plymouth Housing's permanent supportive housing would benefit the people that are already members of this community. Simply ignoring the problem of homelessness in Redmond will not rectify the issue. Instead, we need to acknowledge that they are a part of our community and deserve to be treated with decency and respect. Regardless of somebody's appearance or circumstances, everybody deserves the best chance in life, and housing is the answer. And Plymouth Housing and their supportive services is just that chance. I would be happy to have Plymouth Housing in the community. Thank you.
Thanks for correcting how to say your last name, too. I appreciate it. Joy Ashizawa, then Raymond Zhang, then Sergey Zinochin, then David Haynes, and then Alina Bragashaya.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. This is my first time.
Are you Joy?
Yes.
Okay, great.
My name is Joy Ashizawa. I've been in Redmond since '93, before there was a Bella Bottega or a Redmond Town Center, and we used to be called Denman because there was not much going on. I heard about this land transfer actually from a sibling when I was out of town, and I was quite shocked at how quickly it was done, almost under the cover of darkness without any public input. And that was very concerning to me as a longtime Redmond resident. I have been a supporter of such transitional housing as Jubilee Women's Center in Seattle, so I understand that there are such things as homelessness, and this transitional housing would help women who are in such dire situations get back on their feet through a program that empowers them to be able to stand up on their own 2 feet and become financially independent. What concerns me about Plymouth Housing is that I've heard negative things about it, and the low barrier plus the drug allowed has me very, very concerned. I have a sibling who lives just north of us in Woodinville with 2 young children, my nieces, who do play at Anderson Park, and I represent his voice as well that said, you know, I'm really concerned about having a housing where perhaps people who have a substance issue may be there, and having young children, that is a sincere concern for them. Second of all, many are applauding the sound transit that's coming in, but one of the concerns I have there too is that is a network of public transportation. When you say drugs, is that going to enable drug trafficking? And that's one of my other concerns. How is the city addressing that concern? Because, you know, drug addiction, the death from that is a concern for the community. So I just came here to address my concerns, and that I didn't feel like this was just done so quickly without public input that I felt disenfranchised. So thank you for opening up the floor to be able to speak.
Next is Raymond Zhang, then Sergey Zenochin, then David Haynes, then Elena Braganshaya, and then Igor Braginsky.
Hi, my name is Redmond Zhang. Thanks for letting me speak. We have had enough comments regarding the issues of transparency and legitimacy of this project. I want to talk about the moral base of this project. The supporting side of this project often say, you know, the Redmond residents who raise concern of this project are not nice enough, not kind enough to help people with hardship. I want to tell those people, you're petitioning in a wrong place to a wrong audience. Plymouth, the nonprofit organization, is the elephant in the room that you should go to petition to, simply for two reasons. One, on their website, they said their mission is eliminate homelessness with quality housing. This is exactly what you guys are, you know, the supporting side are petitioning for, right? Okay. The second reason is Plymouth, this organization, they have abundant resource to do the good work. As you guys may have been aware that in the past 5 years, their asset grow from probably 50 million to more than 300 million. And they are called nonprofits, by the way. So they have the money and they have the good heart, kind heart to help people. And by the way, this project we are against, it needs only like probably less than 10 million, which is a tiny fraction of the assets of the Plymouth. Okay, so for the supporting side of those folks in this room, I want to urge you and challenge you, folks in the red scarf and the gentleman who with the yellow notebook. Yes, you. Yeah. Can you guys raise your hand? Okay. Can you go petition to Redmond, Plymouth, telling them, hey, you are supposed to be, do the good work because first, they are nicer people, right? Second, they have much more resources. Okay. And please let us know how it goes. If you're not willing to do it, then stop calling the Redmond residents, not nice enough, not kind enough, right? And finally, as a resident here, I want to say we strongly support using our limited resource, not as abundant as Plymouth. Okay, using our limited resource on our veterans, our senior residents, and our single parents, and the people with real financial financial difficulties and disabilities. Thank you.
Next, we have Sergey Zenochin, then David Haynes, then Elena Braginskaya, and then Igor Braginsky. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sergey Zenochin. I lived in Redmond for 8 years, and I worked for almost 23 years. I have 3 teenage kids, and also I have 2 Ukrainian refugees who live with me, father-in-law and nephew. Plymouth Friends keep bringing up Together Center and also invite folks from Together Center to tell us touching stories. I get it. Together Center is a success. What I don't get is how the success of Together Center translates into success of Plymouth. If Together Center is not a low barrier, then this seems like we have awesome apples, that's why you need to get our oranges. It's hard to buy. The fact that an organization deals with homeless does not immediately translate into success or into humanism. There are failed homeless programs out there as well. Programs that failed both the homeless people and failed the cities they were ran in. By the way, please notice that pro-Plymouth voices are primarily non-Redmond residents, and many of them are part of the homeless housing industrial complex. Another thing is, I find it hard to believe that speech about having a bunch of time where community can engage Plymouth housing and put safeguards in place and all that goodness. I feel powerless in this room to get my voice heard by my city council. When the papers are signed with Plymouth Housing, I'll have zero leverage to do anything. But I'll pretend for a minute that Redmond Council followed due democratic process and express my questions and concerns I would like to have answered before making this rash decision. Jonathan chose video, that infamous movie. I read that Jonathan works for Discovery Institute and he's biased. It's probably true. He shows only the dark side of housing. That's true too. However, is that video real? Or is it fake? Did you find it out? If it's not fake, aren't you worried that that nightmare wants to come to Redmond? And what safeguards, when you were signing that agreement to transfer the land, what safeguards did you stipulate to put in place for Plymouth to prevent those nightmare scenarios, crap and vomit all over the place, and drug dealers from coming into Redmond? Not all solutions are born equal. What alternatives have you considered to Plymouth Housing? Why was Plymouth Housing chosen? Why was it the best? Was it simply because of the 30 mil funding, or were there other metrics that you considered? Has anyone looked into independent data? Does crime rate in neighborhood of established, not 6-month-old Plymouth Housing, does crime rate go up? Does it remain the same? I do not know, do you? And it's not about impact of 100 people. This is about terrible precedent of City Council ignoring its constituents' will. Please rescind. Let's have public hearing. Have all questions concerned addressed, and together help fixing homelessness in the best possible way, both for homeless and for the Redmond. Thank you.
Next is David Haynes. David Haynes. And then Elena Braginskaya, then Igor Braginsky, then Kyle Piper. Go ahead.
Hi, David Haynes, Estera Park. The people of Redmond need to realize that this is an independent city. It's not a satellite of Seattle where they copycat the bad policies of the progressives who've imploded Seattle. And I'm referring to the low-level drug pushers who are destroying people's lives daily. They're being exempted from jail because of the police chief who's quoted, maybe paraphrasing, I should say, that because of the judges are going to release them, and because the prosecutors are not going to charge them, the police chief is refusing to go after all these evil drug pushers. And council seems to allow for all these repeat offending junkies who are connected to the underworld and some of these traffickers' houses that keep roaming through the east side, dropping drugs all over the place. You all seem to equate crack, meth, heroin, and fentanyl with organic, proper-grown marijuana. And it's a real problem because like a permanent housing is supposed to have no drug pushers, no illicit drugs, but you all don't have the policies in place because your police chief is prioritizing overtime at law-abiding events and harassing me from time to time and not appropriately directing their cops to shut down the evil because you've allowed for the police chief to copycat the same bad police reform that comes out of Seattle, where they sabotaged it with an ideal that you shift the paradigm away from the war on drugs and you kind of allow for black and brown percentages within the incarceration rates to drop, claiming you had progress solving a problem that's like exacerbated public safety, prioritizing skin color, misinterpreting diversity, inclusion, and equity, and you're delaying 21st century first world quality housing, commercial buildings and schools and libraries with robust floor plans. And like, we need like less roads to drive through, but it sounds to me like Plymouth Housing wants to pull a fast one and drop the percentages of square footage, so then after they have somebody else do the job they can't do that they subcontract on, they're both going to skim off of a warehouse echo that's really too close to a mental crisis causing transit-oriented housing that needs noise abatement around all the link light rails that keep beeping and horn honking and like screeching their brakes like metal fingernails on a chalkboard all throughout the time that they're running it. And you know, we need like better regulations to protect our renters. But there seems to be like a delay in the progress because of George Soros-sponsored progressive bottom-of-the-barrel policy that this council leadership is copycatting. And you're not keeping certain like efforts and like services honest, like the crime fighting, the behavioral crisis, the addiction, the mental health, and then the innocent houseless. But, you know, you're allowing for like King County Regional Homeless Authority to get a pass on some of their responsibilities to help. Like, say permanent housing has like some whacked out dudes. They got to go. They can't keep staying, right? But these people sometimes will look the other way if you don't have the right outreach.
Next, we have Elena, number 51, Elena Braganskaya. Elena? Igor Braginsky? Igor. Kyle Piper. Are you Kyle? Yes. Oh, great. And then Amani Moyer Ali, then Sean Moyer, then Irina Yeltsova. Go ahead, Kyle.
I don't have a lot to say other than what I've said at previous meetings that I've been at. I just want to thank the council for supporting members of our community that need support. Thank you.
Next, we have Amani Moyer Ali, then Sean Moyer, then Irina Yeltsova, then Irina Sergeyev. I can't quite say your last name. It's a little blurry. And then Ayor Krabtov. Amani?
Hi, I'm back. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address you again. I'm here to reiterate what I know about the planned Plymouth Housing Project and the fact that I support it. Also, I have lived in Redmond for almost my entire life. I do pay property taxes here. And I own a condo that I could not afford if I had to buy it today. So 30% of the area median income in Redmond is about $30,000 a year for one person. Broken down, you could work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, at $15 an hour, over that, and still qualify for this housing. Someone could work just as hard as anyone in this room and still qualify for this housing, because sometimes you fall on hard times and you need support. At any given time, most of us are a serious injury or illness or job loss away from needing this kind of housing. I would venture to guess most people in this room could not afford their own house at its current market value. At this moment, there is someone sitting in their own home who, by the time this building is built in 4 or 5 years, will live in this housing. Most likely, that is an LGBTQ plus teenager who was kicked out of their home, or a senior who can't afford to live in Redmond on the retirement and Social Security they paid into their whole lives. These are not nameless, faceless specters who are coming to ruin Redmond. There is a good reason why every person who applies to live at Plymouth needs and deserves to be there. Also, the signs and websites saying that people on the sex offender registry qualify for this housing, it's misinformation. And people need to go to the Redmond FAQ page because that's factual information. Thank you.
Next is Sean Moyer, then Irina Yeltsova, then Irina Sergeyev, I think, and then Ayor Krabtov. Sean?
We switched. It's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, are you?
Are you Irina?
Oh, I thought you weren't.
No, that's okay.
Okay, sorry. I'm Irina Yeltsova.
Irina. Okay, great.
Yeah. I'm a lifelong Redmond resident, and I work at Redmond Town Center. I walk to work every time I need to go there, and I pass by Anderson Park, and I am really excited for the day that there will be a supportive permanent housing building across from it. It is just what we need for our neighbors, our friends, our veterans, our elders, our coworkers. They are all part of this community, the future residents of Plymouth, and they deserve a place that they can call theirs. This city has been plentifully rewarded for the tech industry that has bloomed here, but the rewards have not been distributed equally. While lots of people have grown very wealthy, many others have suffered due to the boon. The cost of living, and especially the cost of rent, as many people have said, has risen well over what is reasonable. And people who are not in the tech industry have been slowly drowning in unaffordable prices. These people aren't homeless just because they happen to be homeless. They are homeless in large part because of the history of this city, of the success of many of us here in this room, and of our neighbors and our friends. And that's not to say that we should be thankful for the tech industry and for the many gifts it has given us, but we should not leave those who were not part of that uplift behind. We have the ability to mend the traumas of homelessness and prevent them from happening altogether for dozens of our neighbors, residents of Redmond, and we must. Thank you very much, Council.
Is it okay to go out of?
Yeah, Sean, thank you. Thanks for being willing to switch that.
Hi, I'm Sean Moyer. I've lived in this area since 1971 and raised 2 kids who both graduated from Redmond High School, and cannot afford to live here in Redmond anymore. The house that my daughter was fortunate enough to buy a couple of years ago, she would not be able to afford anything near that in Redmond here. I'd like to keep my kids close by making housing more affordable for everyone here. Thank you.
Next is Irina Sergeyev. Another Irina. Ayor Kravtov. Then Marie-Therese Schambach, and then Liz Caulfield.
Hello, my name is Igor Kraftov. Been living around for 15 years now. I've been questioning myself what kind of data was based on choosing the Plymouth housing company to build this housing, because right now I'm reading from this little pamphlet, little card that you provided me. This is not a homeless shelter, and lifetime registered sex offenders and individuals with certain past drug-related convictions will not be eligible for this housing. Now, we did a really quick research on, like 3-minute research in Plymouth, on Plymouth website. Around 97%, that's a quote, of Plymouth residents live with disability. And there are multiple researches in homelessness from San Francisco and from Seattle that disability equals drug addictions. Not 100%, but in multiple cases. And Oregon, Portland has the same research done multiple times. Next, the quote from the website, formerly incarcerated people are nearly 10 times more likely to experience homelessness than the generic public. I don't know why they emphasize that. Because next, another quote, Plymouth offers homes to people experiencing homelessness without asking them to prove that they are really ready for that. I read it as that Plymouth Home Project has a really low barrier on who can become the citizen, live in their house. So I'm really afraid, I'm scared, that when this house will be built and my children, my 2 teenage daughters, will walk around this place, what they do pretty often, they'll be harmed by by a homeless person with a problem or a drug seller who will be nearby trying to sell drugs for those people. As I was 2 days, like yesterday, when I visited Central Seattle, I was attacked, me and my wife, by a homeless person with a certain problem. I was able to fend them because I'm strong and big, but what about our children? Thank you.
Next is Marie-Tree Schambach, and then Liz Caulfield, number 60, and then Hong and Phil Sodoma, then David Morton.
Good evening, City Council members and Mayor. My name is Marie-Tree Schambach. I live in downtown Redmond with my family. My daughter is a second grader at Redmond Elementary School, which is located near the old firehouse and old Redmond School. I ask you all to imagine you're a brand new teacher who has been put in charge of 25 7-year-olds. Of those 25 students, about 6 are low income, 1 of whom will be homeless, 3 are identified as having special needs, and about 8 are English language learners, meaning they may or may not speak English. And don't forget about the rest of the class. Everyone has needs in that class, right? Maybe they had a bad day or are behind on their reading standards. Now, you must teach these children math, science, and other subjects for a whole school year. Within a week, a student will move away and transfer schools, while a new student will transfer in. This will happen all year long. Oh, and you won't have any help. There will be no teacher assistants or extra hands, as all your fellow teachers are faced with overcrowded classrooms and their own student needs. Because you're not simply teaching, you're managing emotions and behaviors, demonstrating expectations, and hoping that today is not the day that a student runs off campus, chokes another student at recess, or has a meltdown and throws scissors at others in a classroom. This is the reality for my daughter's second grade teacher at Redmond Elementary School, and all the teachers there. Teaching is a demanding role that most of us cannot handle. So I ask you, why are we subjecting our teachers to this poor environment? And why are we allowing our children to be? Due to our school's location, the growth of our city has impacted the elementary school drastically. We started the school year with 563 students and now are at 580. Our school has complex needs and over 51 languages are spoken there. We have no additional staff or resources. We have 1 counselor, 1. I understand the city and the district keep a friendly distance, but our school is drowning. We need all hands on deck. This is our community, our children. I ask the council and mayor for assistance on behalf of our school. We need more teachers. We need more staff. We need more resources and need movement now. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Caulfield, and then number 61, Hong and Phil Sodoma, then David Morton, then I think it's Rifte Fahim.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elsie, and I'm one of the programs managers at the Sophia Way. I'm here on behalf of our executive director, Deetra Clayton. The Sophia Way strongly endorses the City of Redmond's commitment to advancing the Plymouth affordable housing development at 16725 Cleveland Street, including facilitating the land transfer. We express our gratitude to the city for promptly and decisively ensuring that federal, state, and local funding is effectively utilized for the betterment of the community. The construction of affordable housing is a crucial need as the demand for affordable housing is escalating across all income levels on the east side, particularly in Redmond. This project holds immense promise in securing a brighter future for individuals and families seeking the stability that comes with having a home. Plymouth Housing, a long-standing partner of the Sophia Way, has demonstrated its dedication through initiatives such as the Eastgate Permanent Supportive Housing Building, where we have been able to extend permanent supportive housing to more than 25 women. Plymouth Housing's ongoing project to establish 100 units of permanent supportive housing for those experiencing homelessness and earning less than 30% of the area median income is an important initiative that will significantly improve the lives of its beneficiaries. The inclusion of value-added supportive services will further guarantee that individuals receive the necessary assistance to attain and maintain stability. We commend the City of Redmond for consistently demonstrating their robust support in meeting the diverse needs of the community. The recent establishment of the Together Center serves as a testament to this commitment. This and other collective efforts are needed to address the housing crisis and positively impact the lives of those in need. Thank you.
Next is Hong and Phil Sodoma, then David Morton, then I think Rifte Fahim, and then Shizuko Melor.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity for the public to comment on this Plymouth housing project. I was really shocked when I heard about it and how it was kind of rushed through the process and the approval and the lack of public comments. And like many of us, I watched the video, about how Plymouth housing is managed in Seattle and the horrible situation there. And I can imagine that would probably happen because of our experience with providing housing to drug addicts. So my husband and I, we have a real estate, we provide housing to a lot of different, tenants. Among them, we have a few that we're actually currently renting to house these, what do you call them? Recovery projects. And we partnered with somebody who recovered from, drug addiction many years ago to establish a drug treatment center. So we're not foreign to this concept of drug treatment. These people are sick, and they are not the same as the people who are poor, who got sick otherwise, and they need very, very close supervision. You cannot put them in a big place, expect that things will miraculously happen. And this gentleman who, recovered himself from years of 20, 30 years of drug abuse and told us they would do everything. They would cheat, they would steal, rob, they would kill for drugs. And if we get all these people together without proper supervision, without treatment, it's very easy to imagine what's going to happen. And I feel very bad for people who have to live there with them, especially the low-income people. So my question is, have you evaluated, have you ever visited one of those, projects, seeing how it's operate, how things are working there? Have you evaluated other solutions?
Oh, could I get a minute?
Yeah, you can have 3 minutes if you'd like.
Sure, that'd be great.
Did you want to, you had 41 seconds left. Did you want to talk?
Okay. I was just saying, I appreciate everybody's work seeing this late and, working for our city. And think about, we have such a beautiful city, and if you make a crucial mistake, that might turn our city into, you might destroy the beautiful city and might cause somebody to die. And think carefully and seriously about your legacy and the consequence of these important decisions.
As my wife mentioned, part of what we do in our rental housing is work with 3 different organizations, and another one we've worked in the past that does housing for people in recovery. And these are very serious issues that require extremely close supervision, and a big part of it is testing for drugs to make sure that these people are not using. Very critical. I feel like this is being rushed through, and I really don't understand why. This does not seem like affordable housing. It seems like extremely expensive housing. You'll probably spend about $40 million on this project, plus about $1 or $2 million a year in operations. If I have those numbers wrong, I am so sorry. They may be on your website. I couldn't find them. This is only affordable in the sense that somebody who doesn't have much money gets something for free that's paid for by the taxpayers. That's extremely expensive. The size of the homeless problem is enormous compared to 100 people
people, is this project just to house 100 people, really good use of the money. I would just encourage you to take the time, think about it, get the public input. There are really smart people who can help think through these issues and make sure that the money that's being spent is really going to be effectively spent to really have a chance to address the homeless problem and the drug problem that exists. Thank you.
Next is David Morton, then Rifte Fahim, and then Chizuko Melor, and then Linda Seltzer.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm David Morton. Redmond can continue to rapidly urbanize while better protecting its critical areas by implementing strategies that balance development with environmental conservation. Here are some approaches the city can take. First, Redmond can create and enforce stronger ordinances that specifically target the protection of critical areas such as wetlands, streams, and wildlife habitats. These ordinances should be regularly updated based on scientific data and best practices. Second, implementing and enforcing better buffer zones around critical areas can help protect these environments from development impacts. These buffers should be based on the type of critical area and the sensitivity of the ecosystem. Third, encouraging high-density, mixed-use development in designated urban growth areas can help minimize the impact on critical areas by reducing sprawl and conserving open spaces. Fourth, Redmond can encourage developers to adopt sustainable and green building practices, such as low-impact development, which focuses on managing stormwater, reducing impervious surfaces, and preserving natural hydrological systems. Fifth, Redmond can prioritize the preservation of open spaces and the creation of green corridors that connect critical areas. These can serve as habitat for wildlife and help maintain ecological balance. Sixth, enhancing public awareness and educating residents and developers about the importance of critical areas and ways to better protect them can lead to more informed decision-making and increased community support for conservation efforts. Seventh, as climate change presents new challenges, Redmond should plan for the long-term sustainability of critical areas by incorporating more climate resilience measures, such as restoring wetlands for flood control and managing rising water levels. Eighth, ongoing monitoring and strict enforcement of regulations are essential to ensure compliance and protect critical areas. This can include regular inspections and penalties for non-compliance. Ninth, utilize Geographic Information System or GIS mapping and other technologies to identify and monitor critical areas. This data-driven approach can help in planning and decision-making processes. Finally, collaborating with local environmental organizations, tribal groups, and other stakeholders can bring additional expertise and resources to the city's efforts to protect critical areas. By integrating these approaches, Redmond can support rapid urbanization while ensuring that its critical areas are better preserved for future generations. Thank you, and happy Earth Month.
Oh, yeah, happy Earth Month. We have about 9 people left, and I know the window seats are super comfortable, but there are actually chairs open if any of you wanted to move and get a little more comfortable. Next, we have, is it Rifa? And then Chizuko Malor, and then Linda Seltzer, then Scott Aldrich. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to express my opinion that the Redmond City Council should rescind its public land transfer decision due to both Plymouth Housing's track record and the location of this project. The Redmond City Council should reject this project, as did this Kenmore City Council, who reached that decision after many months of deliberation and public comment. Unlike Care in Redmond, what did they find in 11 months that caused them to reject this project? I feel that housing the most vulnerable in our community is absolutely necessary, so why are we not providing affordable housing for low-income homeless families or refugee families? Why will no children be assigned to this housing? I feel that children should be the priority. I also feel that the location for Plymouth Housing is a major concern. It's walking distance from the high school, middle school, and elementary school. Our youth are already at great risk. I feel that I feel this will make drugs more accessible and prevalent and increase the danger for our children. There is a police officer at Redmond High School all the time. Despite this constant police presence, the kids find a way to get drugs and use them on school premises. We all know that. Kids will always be 10 steps ahead of us, ahead of the adults, and this proximity to Plymouth housing will just provide them with more access to dangerous drugs and interaction with strangers. Many of the high school kids I have heard from don't use the restroom all day. They say the bathrooms smell of smoke and drugs, and many students don't feel comfortable or safe going to the bathroom, so they don't drink any water all day and prefer to wait until they get home after a full day to use the restroom rather than enter the school restroom. Our kids deserve better. Some friends and neighbors have just given up and moved away as they feel Redmond is no longer a safe place to raise their families. Just to add, the public schools in Redmond are extremely overpopulated. Many students spend their days in makeshift portable trailers. I feel that the taxpayers' money would be better spent improving our schools, libraries, and roads. The clips on the Safe East Side website are of actual Plymouth residents and their own opinion of their living conditions. You don't need to take anyone else's word for it. You just need to hear it from them in their own words and see for yourself the inside of the development. The residents themselves say it's unbearable. The tents, they say their tents were actually better. At least there were no rats or other pests. I've heard of neighboring businesses of Plymouth housing having to shut down and move away due to the shouting, cursing, disturbance, and danger at all hours of the day and night. There are many days when police are called up to 5 times a day. They say themselves that not getting the rehab that they are not getting the rehab that they really need. If they don't get professional help, they cannot recover and will be doomed to a lifelong addiction. They don't even want to live there themselves.
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you. Next is Chizuko Milor, then Linda Seltzer, then Scott Aldridge, then Lillian Yee, then Marshall Wilcox. Chizuko? Linda, I know you're here. Scott Aldridge, then Lillian Yee, then Marshall Wilcox, then Jennifer Blum, then Jenny Anderson.
Hi, just before I start, I'll just say about the housing that I saw the video on the Silver Cloud housing, and it showed that whole thing of 2 beds in a hotel room, which worries me if they're really, carrying out that policy of forcing people to share a room with a complete stranger, whether they want to live with that person or not. And that's part of what the Seattle Times expose was about. So I don't want to see that at Silver Cloud. I believe in housing, but I don't believe in forcing people to have to share a room with strangers. Okay, but I'm here to talk about Community Van, which is another case of a service that excludes the people who need it the most and was designed secretly for 5 years without public input. The most recent issue of the city's newsletter advertised community van service, claiming that people can, quote, hop on a van, unquote, and get a ride. This promotion is false, and it should not have appeared that way in the city's newsletter. The service is actually offered only to 2 or more people. The reason for this is ideological based rather than lived experience. It is meant to, quote unquote, encourage ride sharing. This service, in the name of righteousness, discriminates against the people who need it the most. Only one apartment in the senior apartment complex where I live is inhabited by a couple. Senior citizens experience eyesight problems and may have limited driving. 20% of all senior citizens live alone, and we have independent lives, transit destinations, interests, and schedules. The media constantly reports that senior citizens are isolated. this service would exclude people, could enable people to attend events at night, but it excludes this population. Similarly, women need a safe means of transit to get to and from work, but they will also be excluded. This arbitrary policy, it discriminates against people based on marital status, and it needs to be changed, and there shouldn't have been 5 years of planning without public input.
Next, we have Scott Aldridge, then Lillian Yee, then Marshall Wilcox and Jennifer Blum, then Jenny Anderson.
Hi, I'm Scott Aldridge. I was a software test engineer at Microsoft. I went to school on the east side and went to college on the east side. And I've lived here for my entire life. And I'm very enthused that this council chose to act so expediently to support generating more public assisting housing, permanent supportive housing. I really think that it's the gold standard for helping people out of homelessness. I'm very confused by people making some sort of financial complaint on this program. It is much cheaper to solve problems than it is to suffer them. I really do not understand the entire line of simply ignoring problems and somehow trying to save money that way. It's very confusing. Anyways, thank you again for acting so decisively, and I really hope that it continues in as positive way as it can.
Next, we have Lillian Yee, then Marshall Wilcox, then Jennifer Blum, then Jenny Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lillian, new to Redmond, a Microsoft designer. Here today to firstly show my gratitude to the local Falun Dafa practitioners for their help to me and ongoing support to the Redmond community. Secondly, I request a proclamation for the 2024 World Falun Dafa Day to support and honor this minority group. Falun Dafa, also known as Falun Gong, was first introduced by Mr. Li Hongzhi in China. It is a peaceful meditation practice that aims to improve one's health through 5 simple meditation exercises and the focus on cultivation of character through the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. Its magical health and spiritual benefits have been proven by over 100 million practitioners in over 40 countries and nearly every city in the U.S. When I first moved to Redmond later last year, I was suffering from the stress of my new work and the gloomy, rainy weather. Fortunately, I got to know a practitioner in Redmond who invited me to public Falun Dafa group practice. Soon through it, I found my inner balance to embrace my new life here. And I'm not alone, as many other practitioners from Redmond also facing similar burden of work and life and seeking their roles in this alien land, obtaining health and spiritual benefits from Falun Dafa. However, practitioners are facing persecutions in China and bias in the U.S. In the late 1990s. As hundreds of millions of people were practicing Falun Gong in China, the government, CCP, considered it to be a threat. It fabricated it to be a cult and conducted severe national-wide persecutions for over 25 years still persist today in China. Born in China, I know that fear. As a practitioner in the U.S., I still feel that strong bias. So here, out of sincerity and the truthful heart to a more diverse and inclusive community, I here to stand for this kind minority, also in dedication to our theme of May. I hope that the mayor and council members may reconsider my request. Thank you.
Next is Marshall Wilcox. Marshall? Jennifer Blum, and then Jenny Anderson. Just a moment.
Not me.
Are you Jenny Anderson? Okay, fantastic. I'm hoping I didn't miss anybody. Okay. Please go ahead.
Hello, Mayor and Council, and I appreciate all of you for dedicating to public service in my community. I am a personal public service community member. I feel like I was born a human compassion crusader. Born in Philadelphia, birthright Quaker. There's that of God in every man. All of you, me, all of us. I'm ashamed at my fellow Redmondites a little bit. I'm a little discombobulated. I have notes. We already have affordable housing. We already have homeless shelters. Why is this any different? I wasn't aware of it. I became aware of it by my neighbor, and so I'm here a little bit without a lot of preparation. So let me just tell you a little experience from my 27 years in Redmond. I raised 3 kids. They all went to Lake Washington schools, Wilder, Redmond Middle, Evergreen, and Redmond High School. I was on PTSA from 1999. 2000 was supposed to be a big year. We did all this preparation for Y2K. Nothing happened. After that, I became chair of parent education, and all the parents that weren't here. I mean, look how many people are in Redmond and how many are here. You say it was a good turnout? No, we need a stadium. We need to get more public awareness and more outreach from our residents, not just you all. You can't do all this. So I would like you to consider and put my name down first for how we can all help make this transition an ongoing success of cohabitating with ourselves and our kids and our parents and our neighbors' kids. And I can't look at the signs with the drug-allowed housing. I sold real estate in Redmond for 15 years. I worked for a paralegal for a private practice attorney, and then I went to Seattle and was a clerk for a federal judge where I had to resign because an unhoused person attacked me in Seattle. So I resigned to come home. And during all of that, my son, who was raised in Redmond, straight A's, MVP wrestler, played the trumpet for 12 years, just like many of your children, many of the kids you see out there. And he got into 6 schools. He didn't get into Cal Poly, so he went to San Diego, had a breakdown. He came back, and that's my son. That's somebody's son out there. So I speak for him. Let's be kind, let's be thoughtful, and let's do this together.
Jenny Anderson. And was there anyone else in the audience that had signed up to speak and didn't get the opportunity? Okay, just making sure.
Good evening, council members. I'm Jenny Anderson. I've been in Redmond for 52 years. I have been a housing provider since I was 26 years old. From starting out with small houses to apartment. And everything is great. We help a lot of people, and we love all of our tenants. Never had an issue until we built a building in Seattle and in 2019. And we have 22%, roughly 26 units, low income, and they are called, I think in Seattle, it's called MHA program, MFTE program. And we thought, okay, it's not a problem. We love to help people because we also have a lot of low income. It's never a problem. But the problem with that is they send all the people to us, almost mandatory. We had to accept them. And there were a lot of drug addicts and mental ill clients too. And we don't have the expertise to deal with them at all. And until now, there's still a problem. They bother other tenants, they destroy the property, they try to sell the drugs, and they should belong to an institution, a hospital, or professional care. We don't have the expertise to take care of them. So we asked the housing to help. 4 years now, they still haven't come up with any solution yet, and they're still there and trying to sell drugs to other tenants as well. And I've heard some of the comment from some people about this project, say we are cool, no compassion. And we help a lot of people. My husband and I and our kids used to help the YWCA on the 80th Street 21 years ago, 22 years ago, painting and the cleaning, and help the Real Change Seattle, and also help. My kids used to play violins to help fundraising for the Senior Citizen Center. I really, a little bit upset when I hear saying we are the people have no heart, no compassion. I mean, we have done a lot for the community. And one more thing I like to say about why the housing affordability it's just beyond people. There's a lot of reason to it. Being a housing...
In conclusion.
All right, okay, sorry.
That's all right, thank you. Next we have, that is all of our in-person comment tonight. We have one, and written comment has been distributed to the council, and we have one person signed up to speak remotely. Joe Kunzler.
Is that you, Mayor Bernie?
Yes, Mr. Kunzler, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hi, thank you. I've been watching the meeting the past 3 hours. Hi, it's Joe. I'm here to take sides, just like my presidents and my Sound Transit. There is a moral center in King County in Puget Sound, and that is Sound Transit, which has implemented and enforced public comment rules to stamp the kind of hatred that we've seen not from Safe East Side, but from Alex Zimmerman and the City Council Death Squad. I want to thank both Safe East Side and the pro-housing forces that have gone down there and literally chased away Alex Zimmerman from testifying. I want to reassure for the council that the main reason why the Redmond City Council is even considering public comment changes is because of Sound Transit 12, who would be me, decided enough was enough, with Redmond being used by Zimmerman to launch attacks on Bellevue's democracy without some consequence. It also helps that we have a City Council Death Squad zooming around hurling hate that is no better than the Brownsers or Charlottesville who want to export that hell everywhere in America. This is why your mayor said what she said. This is why your City Council president said what she said earlier. But, let's also talk about other winners too, winners like Claudia Badass Hucci. Looking forward to celebrating her on April 27th and helping bring Sound Transit into a moral leader. Soon the Redmond City Councils will be winners too, by making sure that the people of Redmond and not haters from outside can be heard, and by courageously standing up to hate with substance. So let's get on with bending the moral arc of history towards justice, close the skies to hate, and plan the victory parade down 85th Street. And yes, I bought a hotel room for May 7th. Looking forward to the big vote. The end is near for those suckers who think appeasement is bliss, and those losers who want to spew hate for public comment and destroy our democracy, destroy our genocide. Obviously, I'm not talking about Safe Seattle. I'm talking about Zimmerman. I'm talking about the City Council Death Squad. It's never been a good bet to bet against America. It's never been a good bet to bet against Sound Transit or 12, so the moral center for the region right now. Sound Transit's America, and we not just lead by the example of our power, but the power of our example as we stand up to hate. Let's go, Sound Transit. We are second to none, and we own the finish line. Thank you for your time and your public service, and I will hopefully bump into many of you April 27th and definitely May 7th. God bless, be safe, and you're awesome, President Kurtzer.
Items from the audience is now closed. We have already approved our consent agenda. We have already had our public hearing. Let me just make sure. We already did our Sound Transit 2 update. We have a few items of business to complete. We also do have an executive session for 20 minutes, and then we need to take action after that. Currently, our rules state that we cannot go past 10:30 at night, so we need a motion to extend our council meeting, and I'm not sure how long. So, Council Vice President.
I would actually move that we address committee reports and ombuds at council talk time next week so that we can get to the rest of our business.
Second.
So we're going to skip those things. I don't know if we need a motion. Do we need a motion to skip those items? The council committee? Do we need?
They're on the agendas.
Yeah, okay. So there's been a motion and a second to move our committee reports and ombuds into the next meeting. What's that? Study session?
Talk time.
Talk time at the next study session. Councilmember Stewart? Do you have a comment on
Are you
this?
accepting comment on the motion?
Correct.
Thank you. I just wanted, I will be voting no on this so that we can report out the results of our permanent supportive housing update that we had earlier today in our committee of the whole. So that was a pretty substantive quarterly update on our permanent supportive housing here in Redmond. So I'll be voting no on this motion. Thank you.
Any other comments on this? Councilmember Salahuddin?
Likewise, I wanted to make sure that we shared out the information from that committee, but have all of that synthesized, and if the vote does pass, can definitely share that next week.
All right, thank you. Any other comment on this? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, starting with Council President Kritzer.
No. Aye.
Aye.
Nope.
No.
No. Aye. And that fails 4-3. Thank you. So we have ombuds reports, committee reports, and an executive session, and we need to take action after the executive session. I know that we have a little bit of time. Would we like to do those first two and then see how much time we need to add? Would that work for everybody? See nods? Okay, great. So let's dive on into ombuds report. We have finishing up for March is Council President Kritzer, and then April is Councilmember Salahuddin.
I believe in my last ombuds report, I listed some that I had yet to finish responding to, but I did follow up on all of those. I do have several emails that were directly sent to me that I still have yet to respond to, and just want to let the public know we've gotten a large amount of mail, and really do want to get back to everyone addressing your concerns, and did answer the concerns of hundreds of people who wrote to us in my Ombuds Month. So appreciate everyone sending that feedback. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Salahuddin?
Yeah, just as an overarching coverage, received a lot of emails, likewise to Council President Kritzer. Just some of the topics, received many emails about Plymouth housing, many of which I responded to, and I'm working on getting back to others. We received emails regarding the items from the audience discussion held at last week's study session, and this was echoed in the meeting today, but just to ensure there's clarity on that discussion from last week, the council did not take a vote on the evening of April 9th, and it was a study session. There was no vote, so any items from the audience processes are not changed. We also received emails about the city's safety measures with Sound Transit expansion and the two-line opening up, including policing, public safety, and how that would look like. Received emails regarding parking in downtown Redmond, both the payment process as well as the lack of available spaces, along with parking, the charge from parking shifting from Monday through Friday to Monday through Saturday. Received an email regarding a school bus parked on 196th Street at Farrell McWhirter, an email on lack of adequate ADA accessible parking at the Overlake Transit Station, and an email on outdoor dining and potential permitting. All of those have been responded to as well.
Okay, thank you. Council Vice President?
I was at Grasslawn Park with a community member and wanted to give kudos to our parks team for the rental of the new AstroTurf field to the Seawolves rugby team who were practicing out there, and so that was pretty fun to watch. And also had some community conversations with folks that were concerned about the misinformation about our rules change that Mr. Salahuddin just addressed.
Great, thank you. And just in case you're a sports fan, the Seawolves are actually performing quite well as compared to many of the other Seattle area sports teams. So just going to share that. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you so much. Last week, I took a constituent meeting with our head of DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Jan Harrison. That was with a new resident to Redmond who wanted to learn more about how we're working to create inclusion and belonging and what that meant for her culture. So we had a lovely tea in Overlake. I had 6 visitors to my office hours, a whole bunch of different topics, feedback on public processes and communication for the city, support for one of the pieces of technology that we studied for the police department last week, and a local business owner shared the impact of homelessness in his business. Also discussed permanent supportive housing, of course, with that group. And just a reminder that if you are tuning in or looking for information, the web URL for the city's FAQ page, which has been referenced a bunch tonight, is redmond.gov/ph. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other ombuds items? Seeing none, we're on to committee reports. So I know that Councilmember Stewart or is it just Councilmember Salahuddin? Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, really wanted to make sure that we touched base on our Public Safety and Human Services Committee that we had earlier today. Some of the items at the beginning of the meeting included a Fire Department EMS transport fee program, a contract from Redmond Police Department to approve a contract with Force Metrics, and a Redmond Police Department quarterly police activity update. And then we finally received a permanent supportive housing quarterly update, which City Council actually requested from the staff, including updates on both the Plymouth Housing Project as well as the Health Through Housing facility. So with regard to Health Through Housing, in this, you can, for the public can track this on the agenda for the Public Safety Human Services Committee. Information was shared on an operational agreement approved by Council on December 5th of 2023, along with the Safety and Security Plan, a Community Relations Plan, and a Program Code of Conduct that was developed by a Community Advisory Group, which have all been approved. The project is slated to open in the Overlake area in late May, and Council will receive regular updates, and the Salvation Army will provide ongoing updates for community members as well. With regard to the Plymouth Housing Project, Councilmember Stewart mentioned that city website, which includes that FAQ, redmond.gov/ph. The city is continuing its coordination between Plymouth Housing and other construction projects and property owners in the vicinity, and Plymouth is applying for a site plan entitlement for review by the Development Services. Notice of this application will be posted to the city website once it's submitted. Some of the items that we received updates on included the Plymouth Housing funding commitments as of April 2024, which showed that clear funding stream for the project, so you can check that out on the agenda website for the city, as well as a building timeline, which is a rough timeline that includes items such as pre-development, site inspection, community engagement, and all of the processes there, including recruitment for the Community Advisory Group. That's slated to be scheduled in summer of this year. Submittal for construction permits, the Community Advisory Group kickoff and draft community relations plan in conjunction with Plymouth and the city, groundbreaking, community engagement, continuation, and more. All of this to say, so on February 1st of 2022, the City Council passed an ordinance setting the requirements for all permanent supportive housing that's developed in Redmond, and increasing these options for affordable housing is a top priority for the city. King County, countywide planning policies have established these housing targets for cities to accommodate the anticipated future growth in the next 20 years. The housing that's needed for Redmond has been estimated across all income levels, including anticipated demand for permanent supportive housing. We need housing at all levels, and these projects will help Redmond fulfill its housing goals to ensure that our neighbors can stay and continue to thrive in Redmond. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other committee reports for this evening? Councilmember Stewart.
Well, thank you so much to my colleague for his wonderful review. And if anyone needs help accessing those documents that were referenced in our committee meeting tonight, definitely reach out. Our committee meetings also stream on our YouTube channel and all the other usual places. So let us know if you have questions or feedback. My 2 committees that I'm reporting out to tonight are the Growth Management Planning Board for the Puget Sound Regional Council. We had a discussion on the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. Some regional applications have been put forward. and decisions on these dollars are expected to arrive later this summer. These are dollars from the Inflation Reduction Act that will hopefully be coming to our region from the federal government in order to combat climate change and with particular emphasis on equitably addressing resiliency. We also had a presentation from Puget Sound Energy on their community solar program and an update from the cities of Sammamish and Lakewood on their climate planning. Additionally, last week I represented Redmond at the Sound Cities Association Public Issues Committee, PIC. We had a robust conversation on public defender caseload standards. We all know that there is a workforce shortage and a crunch when it comes to the public defender workforce. There are some new potential caseload standards coming in that are currently being studied by the court, and if they were to go into effect tomorrow, it would about triple the cost for most cities, and not also solve the workforce shortage. So there is an opportunity for cities to engage throughout the summer in some listening sessions, and certainly our staff have been engaged thus far on that. Additionally, we had an update on the Regional Homelessness Authority, especially from two of our SCA members who participate on the governance committee, and we discussed the emergency medical services levy renewal that is headed for King County ballots later this year. Thanks.
Thank you. Other committees? Council President.
I attended the King Conservation District Advisory Committee. We had some interesting conversations. One of the big topics is the rate renewal that will be coming up for that for the King Conservation District. I'm actually helping them to get connected with the Sound Cities Association's Public Issues Committee so that they can bring the proposal to this roundtable of 38 cities in King County to be able to get some input on that before moving forward. I represent SCA on the King Conservation District Advisory Committee along with several others, and likely by the next meeting we'll be asked if everything's looking good to support, do a statement of support to the King County Council for some of that proposal. And as we get more details, I'm happy to share that with the council as well. I also forwarded to my colleagues some information that we got on the King Conservation District's Community Agriculture Program, which is really wonderful and supports community gardens all across the county, and just learned a lot about that and also about how they help cities to be able to advance their community gardens. So I sent that to our Parks Director, just since we are looking at expanding our community gardens to make sure that we're taking advantage of these resources, and for those who have plots in the community gardens that they can take advantage of those educational resources that are available for doing their community gardening even better. And then I also attended, along with Councilmember Salahuddin and Council Vice President Forsyth, the Eastside Transportation Partnership meeting. We are now innovating a little bit on that meeting, which if those of you who don't know, that's a meeting once a month of cities across the East Side that get together to talk about transportation issues and get briefed and make some decisions around some of our joint policy goals there. One of the things that we've now put in place this year is an opportunity for us to do breakout conversations during those and really have the chance for us as cities to talk about how we collaborate on solutions to some of our shared transportation challenges and share really great successes. So that was really great. We also got to hear from the interim CEO of Sound Transit and got to hear an update on the STRIDE bus rapid transit program, which was referenced earlier, and some of the plans for connecting, especially for places that aren't necessarily going to get light rail, but will want to have some rapid transit that then connects into those hubs. So encourage people to look at that project map. It's going to be really important for the East Side. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Any other committee reports? Council Vice President.
Thank you. Council President Kritzer and I met with city administration and leadership to talk about retreat planning that's coming up in 2 weeks. And Council Member Nueva Camina and I attended the Disability Board meeting where we looked at and approved hearing aid policies just to be more in alignment with current pricing trends. And we said many Many thanks and gratitudes to Nancy Hines, who will be leaving that board due to moving out of the city, but she has served 30 some odd years on that board,
Yeah.
so pretty impressive and dedicated to that effort.
Yeah, thanks for remembering to say thank you to her. Ms. Highness is amazing. So, all right. I think that we're done with committee reports. We do not have any unfinished business. We do not have any new business. We do have an executive session for 20 minutes, and we do need to take action after that meeting. Currently, it is 10:21. I suspect we might need a restroom break right before the executive session for some of us who haven't been able to move. I'm going to let you all guess at how much time we need. We need 20 minutes for an executive session, and I would say 5 minutes post-session, so adding 25 minutes to time. Someone make a motion.
I move to extend the meeting to 10:45.
Is that enough?
I think we can do it.
All right. Motion to extend our meeting to 10:45.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Missing one to the restroom. We will see everyone in executive session. Anyone who's in executive session, please go next door. There will be action after this. We are in recess for executive session. And we're back. Do I have a motion to extend the meeting by 5 minutes?
I move to extend the meeting by 5 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion? Council President.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute the settlement agreement as discussed in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, starting with Council President Kritzer.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And that motion passes 7-0. Thank you all very much. And with that, we have come to the end of our business items for this evening. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, thank you all very much for a very long evening. This meeting is adjourned.